you'll be able to listen or hear.
Okay. I'm gonna mute them, so if I have any questions, you can unmute, okay?
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks.
Okay, are we ready?
It's 5:30, Steve, so that's what you're doing.
My contact is right here.
Make sure that's actually showing without bouncing the table.
Okay, so I called across the Stewart. He is probably at the moment coming down through Silk Junction, the Stewart Placing. He was right down next to Chambers. He figures he'll be here by 5. Mike had told me you want to talk about as far as
Morgan County.
cemetery?
Hidden.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some background, and maybe you already know this. Or something. That's some background. So in the 1860s, the cemetery in Croydon, I'm being when the cemetery in Croydon was established, it was a 40-acre parcel,
Pages.
and it was deeded to the people of Croydon.
Because we're on the planning one.
And a cemetery board
You
was
go to pages on
put
that.
together
That one.
about 1860, somewhere in the 1860s. I can get the actual, but I think it's just kind
It's
of
showing live.
Okay, so cemetery board was established. That board kind of kept things going for many years. The problem is the people of Croydon has never really existed as an entity. Well, I live in Croydon, so I'm a people of Croydon, but as a legal entity, it doesn't exist. And they may have at one time, but they don't have. And it was never an incorporated town, to my knowledge. And so that entity has never existed. So legal ownership belongs to the people of Croydon. The people of Croydon don't really exist. The trustee handed down his trusteeship, I don't know what you call that. You probably know the legal better than I. From father to son kind of thing, which, as I understand, also was not really a legitimate way to do it. It should have been done by a board selecting the trustee at the time. Long story short, the current trustee, who is not a local person, has begun to refer to himself as the owner of the property. He's attempted twice to establish corporations under the name of the people of Croydon. We tried an S corp, we tried an LLC, both in Wyoming. Both of those were rejected, and so that's what we had to establish that. The concern is that, so the concern is that if he is able to establish himself as the people of Croydon and take control of the property, we know he has some intention of doing some development on the portion of the cemetery property. Now, the cemetery, it's a 40-acre parcel. The portion that's only been, it's really been used is probably only about 5 acres at the most. The portion that's actually fenced in
So he will to
develop, which is a concern because the intention was for the property to remain in the hands of the citizens in perpetuity as a cemetery. So the people of Croydon have gotten together and said, and I put it in quotation marks every time. But the citizens who live in Croydon, there's about 260 people when you count women and children. not that much. We should. I'm just saying, it's sensitive. I don't mean that came out. You can't. So, long story short, we've met and talked. We've talked with a couple of attorneys that have some knowledge about it. Basically, the solution is for us to either become the people of Clifton or to ask the county to establish a cemetery district where there's some place for that property to go. So, the purpose of my bringing this up today is to kind of get a feel for how you feel about the cemetery district. We don't, to my knowledge, we don't have any cemetery districts in the county. Well, that's the problem. There's probably other cemeteries that are in the exact same situation. Because they had this trustees. So who knows who actually owns it? The Enterprise Cemetery, I don't know who owns it. The cemetery, Division Cemetery. So I just want to get a feel for how you guys feel about the cemetery district. You know, being that Croydon is probably not the only cemetery in this predicament. Would it be wise to explore county-wide cemetery district? Would it be smarter to just talk about local cemetery districts? What are your thoughts? I have no idea.
Cemetery committee.
There may be a committee, but
Who will
the problem is the committees and whatever, they really have no authority if they don't have any ownership. If they haven't given authority by all of them. All of these places will
It's live. Tell him to bring his ass in his hammer. Put your phone on silent if it's not.
So it sounds like you're not in favor of a county-wide, well, not local cemetery districts. So just like the Montgomery Fire District, it's a separate entity. It is quasi-government because it is a taxing entity. So there is that, but it's not a county district. It would just, so what would happen and ultimately to create a local cemetery district, if people would want to do that, it would require the council to sign off on and say that they agree. So I don't want to go down that road unless we know that everybody is okay with that. Because I don't want to go through all the effort and then find out when we get to the council that, the only one wants it. And that's why I wanted to have this
I'm unable to take your
discussion.
call now, but if you can get a message,
So, Roland, Darrell,
Well, I don't think we're going to get personally, I don't think we want to get into the business of taking care of cemeteries.
Yeah, well, and even,
Um,
to be clear, even if we did a county-wide district,
Are you there?
the county would not necessarily run, it would be a separate cemetery
Okay.
district.
So, you know the issue. I don't want to interrupt, but it's hard to tell, but Mountain Green has the same issue, and originally Logan and I worked together on creating a cemetery district. At that point, the council didn't have interest, but if there is interest coming out of Clayton, I'm still interested in doing this. There was a real advantage for Mountain Green as a community to make arrangements with the LDS Church to take over that cemetery in Mountain Green. It gave us the opportunity to take on some other property that they had available as well. So there is a real benefit for Mountain Green if we are willing to do this as a county.
Tina, was the intention to create a county-wide district or just a local to Mountain Green district?
So when Logan and I talked about it, we talked about it doing it countywide because the issues aren't unique to just Croydon or Mountain Green. As the cemeteries move forward, it's getting more and more difficult to manage as a community. That usually they're held by an incorporated area, and with Morgan City being the only incorporated area and having cemeteries in all of these different areas, it becomes very difficult for a non-incorporated entity to really manage a cemetery. I'm sorry, not better prepared. It wasn't on my radar that we were going to talk about this, or I would have pulled up the actual verbiage and everything on it, but I'm very interested in moving forward on it, and I know if there's support for it, I'd be happy to resurrect this, and for lack of a better word there, and kind of spearhead something and getting, because I think there's a benefit, especially in Mountain Green, and then it is a service that is needed in other areas of the county as well.
So my understanding is even if we did do a countywide cemetery district, funding for that district would be a separate line item on taxes. It would not be the general fund line item. And the management would be from the district board. Is that correct?
And it wouldn't even necessarily need to be a line item. At least in Mountain Green, it's still a positive generator of revenue. It's just setting up the management for it.
So we wouldn't, I mean, in theory, the sale of plots could suffice to manage it. You wouldn't necessarily have to have an extra tax line item or anything like that to
Yeah.
handle. But
I don't know
that
about the
would be
finances
an
of all of
option.
the cemeteries, but I know that's how it is in Mountain Green. It's still, there are still plots that are available. It is a positive revenue generator, and enough to, there's enough held in trust to pay for the maintenance. So it'd be like setting up a special service district doesn't necessarily have a line item the way Mountain Green Fire. Well, I guess that's not getting down because it doesn't have a line item, but
Yeah, we don't currently have any council-like districts.
right.
But it would be much like that, the county would want to assume that we can be rewarded for that district. Daryl, what's your thoughts? If there were a local district, say it's just the folks of Croydon or just the folks of Mountain Green want to establish a district, would you oppose that or?
careful. I think there are liability issues, there are some areas, and that's why some of these other organizations I think that we would want to, so I think we need to be careful about moving forward. And I don't know that we're going to solve the real problem, which is the claim of ownership by trustees. Even if we create the district, I'm not sure that just assume that it's going to own that property. I would hate to have the first requirement of the district to apply the quiet title to the land, and that goes as an entity to apply it. So, always about that. And then with respect to the other cemeteries, I would think that if we talk to the assessor or the recorder's office, we could figure out at least who has private ownership. So, from my perspective, that's the place to start. I guess I'm considering myself somewhat neutral at this point, and I understand the parallel issues that are but I can also understand, I was part of some of the discussions indirectly about green cemetery. I did think there were some positives associated with that. That's true.
I mean, I think this is, could be a lengthy discussion, so more than anything, I just want to get a feel for where everybody stands and what concerns there are, so we can talk about moving forward. Is there anything? Okay, fair. That's all I want.
So I could just update a little bit on our discussion about so he kind of go back through the history of things. So my request for agenda was posed from the announced that it was referred to the planning commission for review of some recommendations. But as part of the business meeting, we ultimately decided to just have staff look at it generally and then come back to us to see if we wanted to send it back to the planning commission. But that didn't happen. They looked at it generally, made some modifications to it, and took it to the planning commission. Now the planning commission continued to say, review ordinance, not evaluation of whether one is necessary. So I'll end a failure of communication. So what I'm asked to do is clean up the ordinance to reflect the concerns and what we would believe would be a reasonable reflection of the concerns of the planning commission, and then bring it back to us so that we can, if we decide to rescind it back to the planning commission for specific consideration.
Okay, it would come to the council,
Council first.
and then we would go through that to send it to make it one.
And if we send it down, then I'm wanting to evaluate any of the comments and send it, even if it's in the but next time I'll be really clear with people understand exactly.
Yeah, because I went back, when you said I went back through the same thing, and it wasn't real clear on what was going on. So that's why I was saying I thought we did what we instructed them to do, but it's all, this is clean, what's going on.
Yeah, I'll be clear.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else? Or we're waiting, the sewer figure needs to be here, we can in the 512. before they go over and contact you.
Well, it's after this stuff is done, they were spending a couple of south of the road. That's weird.
Parsons did. Now we're gonna be in the system.
Exactly.
I will say that the striping of the highway is very good. We voted for it on Tuesday, Thursday, it was done.
So anyway, that's going, fairgrounds, all next control. But I can't make it much of it because, the landscape is very slow. That way. So that's, the lights are on, and Friday, but, the lights are not working on programs because the electricity runs into the lights.
Which one's SR 66?
The way it's starting.
It was Saturday.
I do have another update. Fire during this during the summit. May cross over in Morgan County depending on wind directions. Boyd is down on that fire. I spoke with him earlier today. He's gonna have somebody from the state call me and tell me their plan. They haven't called yet. The state is managing the fire. It may go on this one because they will continue their cost plan. They do have help and helicopters on it, so. No.
I can assume that's what was going to happen. What happens. Thanks.
What's that? Yeah, we're gonna change this.
That's it. I guess we can, if you want to just have students run.
Frankly, just one of the things that, in terms of meetings in the other room, some people request that we just sit at the camera as opposed to the table because it's hard for people to hear business meeting. I don't have an objection. Yeah, during the work session. I don't have an objection to that unless we're looking at a plan or something and everybody's around the table, so that was one request. And then I know at one point we discussed putting these portions of our agenda and most jurisdictions first, the agenda and the capital materials. It seems to be pretty rare that we have anything that could be posted by the
Negotiation, consent agenda.
Yeah, and that would make sense. I don't want to post conservation. Land use applications and stuff like that. People are interested in this. Probably has to get some more accurate information.
Well, we'll just check it.
Yeah, but that's the separate email. So that's something I think we'll have to look towards. So,
Put on the tables and I come through here like 25 after you're done. So you always move the tables and make it get there. And go from there. Chairman, you want to do this?
Yeah, give us 5 minutes, we'll sort them, or flip them open.
Are you Stuart? Yes. Okay. He's here. We'll wait just a minute.
how are you? Good to see you.
Chairman knows.
There's no. That's not.
I think that the intent for me coming here today on behalf of the Utah Association of Counties is to kind of help facilitate a conversation in general about tax equitable financing, and then maybe dig down on the proposed project area that you guys are going to be considering on the ballot. And I think that's why Councilmember Cannon asked me to come out here. So, as I understand it, the state of affairs is there is a project area that was designated by RDA Gordon County. There's a plan and budget that was established and all that kind of happened in 2017. And you guys are now kind of figuring out how, is that a correct statement of the state of affairs?
No.
Okay.
They presented it in 2018.
Yes, sir.
And it got voted down. And that was kind of the end of it. So then they come back. And that's what our first conversation was.
When you and I talked.
When you and I talked, because I wasn't aware that the council, we talked about addressing RDA again.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where everything kind of went ahead. And so, 2 weeks ago, when we talked about having you come present what you do at UAC.
Yeah. Perfect.
I can RDA part of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't project specific.
I'm glad to know that. I reviewed the documentation. I actually would love to have that kind of conversation. So to give the council a little sense of my background, I actually worked with Robert on a project in Salt Lake County up until the beginning of this year. I was the director of regional economic development for Salt Lake County. And one of my primary responsibilities for the county was to negotiate the county's participation on project areas that municipalities throughout Salt Lake County were creating. So I acted on behalf, I was the kind of the first touch point on behalf of the taxing entities to do due diligence and look at these project areas, their plans and budgets, and then evaluate what the county was being asked to give up for future growth, and see how that fit into a regional vision and into a total benefit of the county. And we learned a lot. I learned a lot specifically, and through work that I was kind of just doing with helping counties throughout the state, mainly, Carbon and Emory County asked me to come down multiple times and just talk about tax incremental financing and what it can be used for. I kind of demystify it. It's not kind of black magic or dark arts. It's pretty straightforward. And it resulted in the commissioners in Emory County offering me a job, and I said, well, in due respect, I don't know if my wife is going to move to Castledale or move to downtown Salt Lake. They then proposed to Utah Association of Counties, what if we took our budget that we have for an economic development director and gave it to UAC, and then UAC could bring Stewart on to do work for us and possibly do work for other counties. So that started January 2nd of this year. And the work that I've primarily focused on is I'm acting in pretty in-depth work around economic development in Carbon and Emory County. And part of it is around tax incremental financing and using it to advance their economic development goals. And then in Tooele and Fox Elder County, I'm working on a total of 4 solar development projects that are using tax incremental financing as part of their financing package. So that's the work that I'm doing today. But our grander vision is being an impartial kind of advisor and resource for counties kind of grappling with what you guys are living in real time. You and I have talked about this multiple times, 2 times we were on the phone, and not advocating on behalf of the developer, but literally just trying to work with policymakers such as yourselves to understand the tools that you have available in the state of Utah to implement what you all are trying to do around this space of economic development for your elected constituents. So what I would love to talk about how tax incremental financing can be used, we're doing them on solar deals, you can do them, we just recently worked on a project in Carbon County. It's being touted as the largest rural economic development incentive ever awarded by the state. It's a major manufacturer, and that's kind of a big deal for them down there. You can also use it to build out commercial development in targeted areas that you guys have within your jurisdiction. And which, in that regard, in terms of commercial development, you'll have a developer they're gonna do something. And I would say that it's probably not in the county's best interest or the other taxing entity's best interest to just give them a portion of their new growth because they're doing it. But if it fits into incentivizing them, taking what they're doing, but then also elevating it to a higher standard, it ties into some kind of planning effort that you all have done as a county, there could be a justification there. We discussed that part of the thought process maybe is you're trying to incentivize a grocery store incentivize, you know, a grocery store operator to go there. And those are all things that you all can do. But my intent coming here today was just to kind of answer any questions you don't have about tax and criminal financing, the plethora of stuff that I've looked at, and, you know, be some kind of, you know, impartial resource to the county to just kind of not advocate for or against, but just answer any questions that you guys are grappling with as you're, you know, trying to represent the people of Oregon County and get the outcomes that you feel that your constituents want you to see happen. Does that kind of make sense of what we're doing in the association and why I exist and what I might be able to, if you guys see value in, well, you know, I try to keep it simple in terms of my existence. So, I mean, is this a good starting off point for us to kind of talk about tax reform financing? Will this be beneficial to this legislative body?
So I guess what I want to understand is, so if you were, the county were to bring you in to consult with respect to one project or another project or another, so is that something we do by contract?
Yes. That's how that's what we've set up on board. My position is not covered by the dues that you all pay to the Utah Association. It's tied directly to scopes of work in the counties that want to use it. That being said, I think there's a baseline of what we're kind of building the ship as it sails. You know, I find this stuff really interesting. And so, like, this was a value to come out here and just have a conversation with you all. And, you know, kind of let you know what we can do. I'm picking up the phone and having a conversation is not any kind of required contract. But if there's a clear piece of work that the association with me kind of laying out on can benefit for the county, then we can have that conversation.
So if we had a specific request with respect to our evaluation of the project or your budget or something like that. Have this kind of consult with respect to that, we determine what the terms of the contract was.
Yep. But as I said, if it doesn't require me, like if it's just picking up the phone and talking one-on-one with you all or anything of that nature, I think that's just kind of a baseline that, you know, is valuable for us to be providing as an association. So, it's not like, we'll figure it out. All I really have to do is make sure that my salary benefits are covered. The rest of it is just, and it's not that, I mean, it's not like I'm not getting wealthy. My existence is justified, but it's just really kind of exciting because what I observed when I was in Salt Lake County, the municipalities are pretty good at this, and their consultants are really good at this. But when you get out of, say, Salt Lake or maybe Davis, and then you kind of get into some of these other counties that have municipalities, the county serves a lot of roles, and you all have your shared responsibilities that you take on behalf of the county, and just having some trusted resource that's not, you know, that has a clear mandate to work on behalf of the county on issues and have a level of information that they can provide. That's kind of the intent.
Okay, so I've been reading up on some of this. So Authority Gateway was originally set up to help blighted areas, to go in, refurbish, reestablish areas. Are they shifting now where in areas that are more desirable for development as opposed to the blighted areas?
Yeah, so the place where it stands now is the last change to the state statute that allows for bodies such as this to create a redevelopment agency, right? getting recorded, which I'm used to, and I see that. And if you have 10 project areas, those are all set up as their own profit centers that have their own obligations predicated by contracting agreements between the taxing entities and whoever you're giving money to as an incentive. Does that answer your question? Ish? Okay.
Okay,
If I
we got
run
3
over-
minutes, do you have any more questions? Okay. You're gonna move the
Dana,
table.
did you have any
Okay,
questions?
So, can I help move tables?
I've got
I
it.
have been told that they want to move the tables. Okay, so here's the first thing on our agenda
Tonight.
tonight.
Okay.
So, because we want to discuss about whether that's going to a contract with TRU.
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay,
So, I would say that, Stuart, we haven't talked about anything specific that you would be doing, but it does give us the option, which is why I got you on the regular agenda. If the council doesn't feel like there's anything we need from Stuart at this point, we can just take that off the agenda and have him come back when we are ready to discuss something specific.
Whatever you guys want. I want to be helpful, so.
are you okay with that?
Absolutely. It's a beautiful drive, and I promise.
Because I think what will make sense is when we get another application for RDA, we come in and talk to the council if we want to do this social services.
The thing that we found, like in Twilla on the, and you can call, the commissioners there, what's been really nice is we have good interfacing with the other taxing entities because, like, we're not going anywhere. And we're not driven by, oh, I've got this consulting agreement, I've got to get, like, it's more, we spend a lot of time working with the school district and working with the fire district, just having those conversations like this, just wrapping your brain around it. And, because I think a deal that you have to rush, because what happens a lot on economic development is you got this deal in hand and it's like, you gotta get it done, and everyone's just like, whoa, calm down. When you're able to have like someone who's like easy, that's what you've seen is it kind of demystifies it and it doesn't make it combative because effectively you guys are one community and you all want your community to be the best it can possibly be. You gotta define what that means among yourselves. But if what you're trying to work towards is just a better place for the residents, like that should be the motivation. That should predicate any deal. Thank you
All right.
guys.
Thanks, Stuart.
Give us just a few minutes, we'll regroup and start.
How many Yeah. I'm glad it's a late, it's a late request. Yeah, you know where the light yeah, they said that easy one. So we'll probably try to squeeze in. Other than that, there's the advanced expansion a little election in November. The big election next year. We also yes, the morning and the day and late.
welcome you all to our county council meeting this evening. If you have a cell phone, you turn it off, or if you need to take a phone call, if you'd step outside, that would be greatly appreciated. We'll start tonight with a word of prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be done by Member Valentine.
Lord Heavenly Father, we grateful we've gathered tonight as a council, as community members. We're grateful for the opportunity to talk about issues that are important to our community. We ask a blessing that we will do so in the spirit of understanding. Grateful for those that protect our county, especially those in the military and EMS. Grateful for all our blessings to live in such a beautiful county. So we pray in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm gonna go grab some more batteries for this.
I would like to welcome you here. Is Tina online? Is she here?
Yes.
Okay, so we have Member Cannon is with us on the telephone. She's in Salt Lake with Spencer Fox down there, so we want to excuse her from the meeting, but she will be on the phone. Approve the agenda. We've got a couple of things. We're going to remove the minutes. There's no minutes. We're going to reschedule Stuart Clayson at a later date, and then Boyd Kerrigan, because he is on the fire over in Layton. We're actually going to reschedule him to our next meeting. With those adjustments, we'll have a motion to approve our agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion by Member Kilmer, second by Member Newton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Conflicts of interest by any members of the council on any of the agenda items.
Mr. Chair, I'll declare a conflict of interest with respect to item number 4. And representing the developer of Cottonwoods and Harbor Drive vacation relates to phase 5.
Okay. Any other council members with a conflict? Okay, at this time, just so you all, you can hear. Well, I'm not going to stand up and talk. Sorry. What we got a couple of things tonight. We've got 3 different public hearings tonight. They're over on the table. One of them will be in regards to proposal from Morgan County to vacate the small piece of ground up on Harbor Drive. The second one will be a Porter rezone, and then the third one will be the Wasatch Peaks. So if you've got comments for each one, for any of those, if you would take a moment while we do actual public comment and put your name over there, that would be greatly appreciated. Right now, we're going to go into public comment, and that is it. If you have any comments, any issues, concerns that you have with the council or the county, if you'd come up and state your name. Like I said, those other 3 items will have their own hearing and time for you to voice your opinions at that time. So this time, we're in public hearing.
Public comment.
Public comment, sorry. All right, a motion to go to public comment.
So moved.
Member Newton, second. Member Kilmer, all those in favor? Aye, any opposed? Okay, we're gonna skip down to number 3. Ernie Fullenkamp.
Good evening. I'm Bernie Fullenkamp, and as your agenda notes, I'm here to respectfully request from the council consideration on an adjustment to a transportation impact fee for a hangar I'm intending to build at Morgan County Airport. John Cannon, who is a friend of mine, fellow pilot, fellow hangar owner. John will also be functioning as my general contractor for the construction of this hangar. John sends his regards to the council and his regrets he had intended on being here but was detained by other issues. The letter that I submitted a week ago with my agenda request outlines my rationale for an adjustment. I'm happy to either outline the contents of that letter or answer your questions, whichever the council would prefer.
Any members of the council got questions regarding the Fulenkamp's request?
I do.
Okay,
What's the
remove-
amount of the impact fee that's been assessed? I don't see that in the letter.
Yeah,
Maybe
and
that's part of it.
I was told by John it was on the order of $7,000 if without the adjustment from the council. And that is, my understanding is that is assessing the property as if it is commercial property. And as I outlined in my letter, my hangar is going to be for strictly personal use. Ironically, the land lease that you all approved a month ago for me strictly prohibits my use of it as a commercial property. So I plan on hangering a home-built aircraft that I am currently diligently, conscientiously working on at home. And so it will be a personal use hangar. And again, as outlined in the letter, it is my understanding that last year, less than a year ago, the last 60 by 60 hangar that was built, coincidentally by John, that the council made a major adjustment. I have been unable to figure out exactly whether it was waived or reduced, but I understand major adjustments were made. And so I am simply looking for either a waiver or, worst case, similar to what the council decided to my fellow hangar owner who built on Bravo 3 last year.
And which one are you, your double A?
I'm double A 8.
Okay,
I also noted in the letter, I know that last year you all looked at commercial property, looked at transportation engineering studies and what have you. That issue had to do with storage units, and they made the case that their storage units, as opposed to the Sinclair gas station, as opposed to a grocery store, where there's hundreds or even thousands of average daily visits, that they were going to have significantly less. And this council did give them a major adjustment. As a personal use hangar, I would feel very fortunate if I get to go to the airport every day. Because I'm a father, a grandfather, and have other obligations, that will not happen. So my average daily trips will be less than one.
so what's the amount that you're looking for the adjustment?
Like I said, I was unable to, maybe the council recalls what they did for the gentleman on Bravo 3. I think it was an order of several $100s. But I was not able to find the actual number.
Lance, do you have that information?
I don't, I was able to look that up before, we did produce it and we could match what we did on that one, and I could just reference and figure out what we did on that, but I don't have it.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Member Newton,
I move that we adjust the transportation impact fee for hangar pad AA8 to match the same fee that we charge for hangar pad BB3.
BB3. Do you have no idea what that amount is, what we're saying?
I don't know that amount, I think we just match it. Let's look that up and adjust it.
So a question, so we have a motion by member Newton, do we have a second? Member Swan. So question, do we want to do that, or do we want to postpone it, have him come back with our actual numbers that we are approving?
I'd
My
like to
question.
come back with an actual number.
Respectfully request that the application that you approved a month ago encourages me to be timely. And so within days of your approval of my land lease, I I prepaid my 2-year lease. I prepaid my $6,293 to the county to reimburse the county for infrastructure. I've talked with water, I've talked with sewer, I've talked with fire, I've paid all of those impact fees. Without this adjustment, I cannot get a building permit, and I would like to start while there is time to build. And so, although I do not know the number, I think in the sense of fairness, I am agreeable to pay what my fellow builder less than a year ago paid as an impact fee, although I don't know exactly what that number is, but I'm going to presume that the county council was fair last year, and I will comply with that amount, and would prefer that I not be delayed, since that will cost me precious building time and very, very short fall building season. When I look back at 16, it was on the order of $699, something like that, so I don't know what the count
Say that again.
$500 to $700, something like that seems to come to mind.
Who made the motion to match?
To match BB3. Okay, any more questions? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number nine. I would like to see the number. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 4, this is a continuation of our public hearing. This one is the Harbor Drive. Okay, Lance?
Good evening. This is a simple request, vacation of a small portion of Harbor Drive. As Cottonwood Phase 5 was being platted and going through the subdivision process, it was discovered that a small area, which would be a future stub road, was dedicated to the original Harbor Drive. They've realigned the subdivision alignment, are not using that as the access point. They're lining it up with Harvard Circle down here. I think that's the name of the street. And so there will not be an access point where this stub road is. It is a few feet wide and probably 40 feet wide and 10 feet deep at the most. So it's a very small area that's now not going anywhere. And we have it vacated and we return to the adjacent property owner before such use.
Any questions for staff? Okay, public hearing. Motion by member Kilmer to go into public hearing. Public hearing, second by member McConnell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay, we're in public hearing for Harvard Circle. It's for the county to vacate that little approach that's in that blue box. Right? Motion to go out of public hearing by member Kilmer.
Second.
Who's that, member McConnell?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, with that, members of the council, motion on the agenda item.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the Harbor Drive public right-of-way vacation application number 19.040, vacating a portion of the public right-of-way on Harbor Drive based on the findings listed in the staff report dated September 3rd, 2019.
I have a motion by member Newton, we have a second by member Kilmer. Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. All right, number 5. Lance, Porter rezone.
This is a rezone request for, to go from A20 to R1 at 20, approximately, the parcel exists exactly at this location, at 2556 West 2900 North Enterprise. They are requesting, you can see it's just to the east of I-84, between I-84 and Old Highway. There is a 17.9 acre parcel here. We would like to carve off 1.69 acres, rezone it to R1 for future building sites for a single family home. If the rezone is approved, they will have to come back and replat and combine parcels and do some replatting to create that parcel. With the subdivision plat, the request tonight is for a rezone, so just that parcel. Future land use in that area is village low density, just to the northeast. This particular area is ranch residential 1, so this general plan has stated this is an area that we look for and see 1 acre lots. They're asking for 1.69 acres. So the general plan supports it. When you're talking about a general plan, a rezone, we just want to look at conformance with the general plan and see if it does match that. The existing zoning is A20. There will be, generally speaking, we don't like to see leapfrogging, but there is just a small little strip of A20 that will be left as part of a larger parcel to the southeast. But for all effective purposes, along that 2900 north, it is adjacent to R1, and the general plan supports it. So, the Planning Commission recommended approval of this, and so does staff. Any questions?
Questions for staff and members of the council? Okay. Motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
Motion by member Newton, second by member McCollum. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, this is a public hearing, continuation for the Porter rezone. Okay, seeing none, motion to go out. Member Valentine,
Second.
second by member McConnell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion on the agenda item for the Porter rezone 1.69 acres from A20 to R1.
Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the Porter rezone application.
I'm not really sure, Stacy just get us that and said that's what we need to read.
All right, application 033, changing the zoning district on approximately 1.69 acres of land from A20 to R1. Based on findings listed in the staff report dated September 3rd, 2019. The ordinance CO 19-05 and ordinance.
Reason for the changing of an area to allow for resort type use. It is requires really, it includes a lot of elements that are all included in that application. The first item is the general plan amendment. In this case, it's going from natural resources and recreation and agriculture land use, the general plan, future land use map, to master plan community. That's the request. And then there's also changing the zoning from F1 and ME 160 to resort special district. It would be resort special district, Wasatch Beach Ranch. The way the ordinance is written is that the new zone is created effectively with that title. It includes with the resort special district, there are there's several main requirements, but one of the big ones is a development agreement that outlines the details of all the aspects really of development. So it's density, there's a requirement for at least 60% open space. They need to provide a fiscal impact study that shows that it has a positive impact on the county. It needs to be compatible with the county's overall goals and general plan. This is a picture of the concept plan for the area. You can just barely see it in the slide, but the district outline and really good, lots of feedback and lots of opportunities for people to discuss and learn about the project. And then we've been through 3 planning commission hearings on it. The first was June 27th, which was, they were all public hearings. There was always opportunities in all 3 of these meetings to allow the public to speak and weigh in. Most of that took place on the 27th. The July 11th and July 25th planning commission meetings, there was a discussion with the planning commission about the elements of the development agreement. The planning commission's conclusion on that was that they recommended approval as long as all those issues that were brought up in that development agreement were met. That was outlined in the summary table of the development agreement issues that was in your packet. I think, let me just talk for a second about what these requests are. First major request is a change to the future land use map. Morgan County has a general plan which outlines goals and visions and statements, and then goals and policies that help derive and direct where the county wants to go. The challenge with those is that they're very general, very high level stuff. And so we get issues like, well, promote economic development. We also have preserve natural resources. So when it comes to the discussion of should we change the general plan or future land use map, we want to use those goals and those statements to help direct. But it still leaves it up to you as the legislative body to determine whether or not this project meets those standards, and you get to weigh your different elements and how they sit. It is not. You've changed the plan, the future land use map numerous times over the years since 2010 when it was originally adopted, and then there was a previous version before that. It's certainly not unheard of, and it should just be balanced with how does it match the goals and visions of the county. The Planning Commission spent a good deal of time discussing that exact question of how it lines up with all the different vision statements, and their conclusion was that it met sufficient amount of those to recommend approval to you. I think I'll just leave it at that and turn the time over to the applicant and let them go over their project. I will, of course, be here to answer planning and those types of questions, and let the applicant answer questions regarding their proposal. Does that sound good?
We need the public hearing first or after?
Probably after.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Questions for staff? Okay.
Good evening, Ed Schultz with Wasatch Beach Ranch. Thank you for having me here tonight. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to present Wasatch Beach Ranch to you guys. This property was formerly known as the Gately Ranch. It had been owned for the last 20 years by the Holding family, the Bass family, and Peter Hicks. We first became aware that this property was for sale in February of 2017. I've spent most of the last 2.5 years working on this project and meeting people in Morgan County. We have an office in Salt Lake, and we've built our team with Utah resources. So we purchased over 12,740 acres in January of this year. Of that, 11,500 are included in the application before you. It is important to note that we'll keep approximately 8,500 acres, as Lance said, in open space used for recreation activities. For the last 2.5 years, we've worked extensively to understand the feasibility of the access, the roads, water, wastewater, infrastructure, including power, sewer, and then, of course, the ski terrain, the habitat, the geology, and the financial conditions of the county. We've created a plan that allows the county to enjoy the economic benefits of growth without shouldering the cost of that growth, and what will be minimal impact to the in terms of additional residents to the community. I've enjoyed meeting people in this community. We're excited to be able to create a project that provides financial sustainability for the county and for future generations of Morgan County. The owners of this property want to create Wasatch Peaks Ranch and will be passionate stewards of this land.
Hi, I'm Becky Zimmerman with Design Workshop, and we've had the honor to work on the master plan and all of the rezone information for you. So I'm in the fun part of describing the RSD rezone and what that really means and what we are requesting. So this would be, as Lance described, a resort special district for the 11,500 acres. A little bit of history about resort special district in Morgan County. That district was created when Snowbasin came before you to figure out how to use your current zoning categories to create a resort. And what you had in place at the time really did enable that to happen. And the same thing was true in Weber County. So Snowbasin first worked with Weber County on a new ordinance, and it was called DRR1, Destination Recreation Resort. And having worked on that for about a year, and then some, kind of came to Morgan County and went through a similar process, although with a pretty different ordinance. But what that allows, the RSD describes in a lot of detail the process that is required for that rezone, the purpose of the rezone, and what it does is it creates flexibility for that resort developer, because given the land and how much land there is, which is a requirement of the RSD, you need that flexibility because these take a long time to develop. But it also creates a tremendous amount of certainty for the county, and that is all put into that development agreement. The RSD application, which you saw is several hundred pages long, and it includes an extensive site analysis, conceptual land use plan, development standards, permitted uses. It includes a comprehensive transportation study, a fiscal impact analysis, an infrastructure master plan, and a development agreement. So those are all things that you have in that application, and that's why it ends up being so many pages long. This is really kind of covered, but a lot of outreach happened even before this rezone application went in to you in early March. The work group meetings, meeting with staff, the site tours for staff and planning commission members and council members, the public open house in February, and then since the rezone application, and Lance has covered that, so I won't. But in addition to that, is the kitchen table chats, and it's Ed going out and meeting with people at their homes to describe what the vision for this project, the details of this, the facts that are included in the application, and just to help people understand what this is really about. So in the context, and Lance also described this a little bit, but this shows the entire property. This is the 11,500 acres. So the interstate, Morgan Valley Drive, Milton is here, Peterson here. So you can see it's a big piece of property, but you can also see this in this particular diagram, the things that don't have the brighter color, so kind of this light white, is all of the land, that 8,500 acres, that is not going to have homes on it, that is not going to have development on it. A lot of thought went into this plan, and when we sat down and first met with Ed and his team, we had a lot of conversations about how do you make decisions about development, and how do you do smart development, how do you make it right? And the overriding message that was sent to our planning team is let the attributes of the land dictate where development should go and how much development should go there. And so it's the topography, it's the slopes, it's the vegetation, it's the habitat that really has influenced this conceptual land use plan. We've spent hundreds, maybe probably in the thousands, looking at the team back here who's really done that on the ground, understanding all of this land. In addition, using GIS site analysis mapping. The development areas are really carefully sited, particularly taking into mind the natural site and constraints. We've looked at slopes, we've looked at how to best put roads in to make sure that we meet the radius requirements, the slope requirements for the roads, and the view shed. And views work in both directions. So how do we minimize the view of development, but also the people who are living there? How do we see that they're not looking at the interstate or development around the interstate? So that kind of starts to determine where some of, I would say a lot of the development goes. This is all in detail in our application, but looking at all kinds of different elements in the site analysis. These are just excerpts of the GIS mapping. And then the conceptual land use plan. So once again, this is the overall 11,500 acres, and we're just going to zoom in on this northern half. And that's where we can show, as Lance had described, this is really kind of the core of a lot of what happens. This is a place that you almost can't see it. And a lot of it you can't see at all. And if you haven't been on the property, you wouldn't know that there's this big valley that's kind of behind the ridge line behind Peterson. And then there's this big valley that goes up to this next piece of the mountain. And if you're not on property, you would never know it's there. I mean, the first time I was up there, I was really blown away by it and very surprised. So we have been working at this for more than 2 years and talking to people in the community. And so we tend to hear some of the same questions. And we just thought we would take a shot at answering some of these questions. I think that would be very helpful. And do you want to start with the first one?
So one of the major questions here is water. This is the West. Water is critical. It's critical for development, and it's critical for the livelihoods in this community. We're very cognizant of that, and some of our initial analysis was on what was the available water in this property. Utah has a system of prior appropriation, and it can basically be summed up best as first in time is first in right. So we exercised a 2,500 acre-foot option with Weaver Basin Water Conservation District at the beginning of this year. This water was set aside by Weaver Basin Water Conservation District with the 2011 agreement with the prior owner. This has been the liability for WDWCD on their books since that time. There has been a prior exchange application filed to identify points of diversion. That was filed in 2007 prior to the downturn by the previous owner. This new exchange application will be filed by us and will identify our locations of points of diversion where we will be sourcing the water from. The analysis that we've provided to the Utah State Engineer to prove that that water is available, and the data that supports our water drawdown tests, as well as everything in that application will be available to the public. So the U.S. Geological Services and the Utah State Geological Services have done extensive studies on the groundwater remodeling in Morgan County. They have concluded there is existing natural spillage of water from Morgan County into the Weaver River. That means that aquifer is extremely healthy, and excess water is leaching into the Weaver River and going downstream into Davis County. The concern over the size of this exchange is also unwarranted. WBWCD, in concert with the river commissioner, will release water from the upstream reservoirs to replace any groundwater that is diverted by us on a one-by-one basis. That means every acre-foot of water that we pull from the ground will be released from the dams upstream to satisfy that replacement water that we are pulling from the aquifer. WPR groundwater development is going to occur at the lower end of the property, the lower end of the valley, the very northern part of the property, to be as most minimally impactful to other water users in the county and in the community. You guys have seen that we are looking at doing a ski resort. So snowmaking will provide benefits for those downstream water users. It has been demonstrated and measured in the Little Cottonwood Canyons that snowmaking is an additive feature for the water users, both for the downstream water users or water rights holders, as well as for the hydrological systems, meaning the groundwater recharge. 82% of snow that is put up on that mountain will return to those systems, helping and increasing the health of those hydrological systems.
Next.
Can I ask a question? Do you mind me interrupting? Can you show me back on your land use map? Can you just show us, like you described it in terms of the north end, where are your points of diversion expected?
Well,
do you know, at least generally?
We do, because that property on the north end is non-continuous with the main part of the property. It's not shown on this conceptual land use. It is not included in the RSC application, but it is property that we own there, right off of exit 92, and then on the south side of that. So we're exploring through there where all the easements are, adjacent well owners are, that is the location of our wells within half a mile of exit 92.
And then you plan to pump to the top, store, distribute.
That is correct. The hydrogeological analysis says all of those rock structures throughout the central part of the property are unfortunately not well suited for production of water in the quantities that we need. You can get individual property wells, but for the amount of water we need for the 750 homes that we're proposing, we either are drilling at 8,000 feet where the wells could be in excess of 1,500 feet in length, and then burning energy to bring the water up only to bring it down the mountain, or you remove it, you harvest it on the north end of the property and then pay for the distribution across the property to the south.
Back to the snowmaking, so are there chemicals involved in snowmaking, and then if so, what is the impact on that?
It's an inert bacteria that I can give you the exact details on. It's by being inert, it is nothing that interfaces with the other downstream water uses, whether it's a culinary use or an agricultural use, and I can get you the exact details of that. That's it on water. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to take. So it is an important and critical component.
Okay, so,
So do you want us to ask the questions at the time we do the water, or you want to do the whole presentation and then address all the questions?
I think that's your preference.
Okay, well, you might answer some of the questions. I would just, personally, I just would go through the presentation and ask whatever questions we got after. If you want to interject, I would say interject a question.
property taxes. In Utah, there are 3 approaches that determine the assessed value of properties. One is, in essence, the construction cost. And that is typically used when it's the only thing like it out there. The second, which is used most commonly, is like-kind properties. So your property value is determined by the assessor based on similar homes of similar sizes and similar lots, maybe similar age, and that they'll look at that to help determine your assessed value. The third is by income potential. So for Wasatch Peaks Ranch, it is likely that very early in the development, the first method would be used because those homes will be the only thing like them. So those first 3 or 5 or something, those values will be determined by the construction cost. As you get more like kind, you will look across Wasatch Peaks Ranch homes to determine Wasatch Peaks Ranch home values. And the value of those properties is really tied to the exclusive right to use the amenities on property. The property on the other side of the ownership boundary doesn't have those same amenities and that same benefit, so their value doesn't increase because of Wasatch Peaks Ranch. When we talked to the county assessor, she really felt like Wasatch Peaks Ranch will not affect property values in the county because they don't benefit from the amenities that are within this WPR. But I think folks know, we've already seen their home values increase, but that's because of market forces that are happening without WPR here. Another question we get is, what's visual impact? What am I going to see? And I kind of described a little bit about where the base lodge and a significant amount of the residential units would be is kind of this mid-mountain valley. You're going to see kind of the little ski slopes, but you have to remember it's a long ways away. And here, so even from just Mountain Green to Wasatch Peaks Ranch property line, or to the base, is 3 miles. And the further in the county you go, obviously, the further that gets. We did a visual simulation. I'm not going to go through the details on this, but I show this only because this is a very technical process. Anybody could go and replicate this assessment. This isn't artistic license. And maybe the most important part is the number one point, which is these photos were taken with a 50 millimeter lens on a camera, which is the closest to mimic the natural eye and what the natural eye sees. So I'll go through these pretty quickly. I'm happy to go back to them later. There's several of them, but we went and looked at 8 locations around the county. This first one is over by Stoddard, and this is the current condition. This is the condition with WPR developed. I do want to make a note here that the design standards that are part of this application and that everyone within the property will be required to do it deals with building materials, building colors that have to be of the colors of the natural landscape here, and non-reflective roofs, so and downward facing lights. So all of those things are in here. No one could go up there and build a bright pink home. So the homes we have put in here are colors of the earth, as are required. This is from roughly the Peterson exit, the current condition, the future condition.
You can talk about it.
Yeah. Current, future.
When do like showing up? It's hard to pick out.
Well, Well,
those
it is
slopes.
hard to pick out. So you do see the slopes, right? And then like these little brown dots would be a home. You'll see it a little more in a couple later. I think that's a home. There is a black line that is 40, it would be the equivalent of 40 feet wide. That is the roads that are put on here, which would be asphalt, so they're going to show up black. So you'll see more here in a minute. This is cotton from the cottonwoods, current and proposed. So that's where you can start to see a couple of homes up in this bridge that's 3.5, well, at that point, 4 miles away. The next one, Rollins Ranch, existing and developed. I'm sorry, Cottonwoods. I got these mixed up in there. Next one's Rollins. Great, Rollins Ranch. Okay. Rollins Ranch, existing and proposed. One of the things that we have done is this portion that is closest to the northern side, we've put the fewest parcel or homes on that side of those development areas. And in the development agreement, we have limited the numbers that are in the conceptual land use plan and what's called planning areas A and B are the maximum numbers that can go in there. So those numbers wouldn't change. And the last one, Trappers Loop, existing and developed. Next, oops, sorry, Trappers Loop, I got ahead of myself. Trappers Loop, existing and developed. Next question. We talk a lot about private. WPR is private. Private roads, private water and sewer, private or its own fire district. So what does that mean? It means that WPR will build, maintain, and do all the snow plowing for the roads up there. The county has no responsibility for any of that. There will be a district, a WPR district, that is created that will run the water system and the water treatment facility, which is located on the property. There will be created a WPR fire district. It will be funded, staffed, and operated by WPR. Of course, there'll be an interlocal agreement with the other 2 fire districts, because when you have a fire, everybody pitches in. And that works both ways, but certainly WPR helps with other fires, and I think that will be a certainly a benefit to Peterson at the very least. And this is a little bit complicated to describe, but I'm going to try to do my best here, is that for those that don't know, and certainly council knows this, but the Morgan Fire District is funded out of the general plan. The general plan, the general fund. The general fund gets funding, one of its funding sources is from property tax revenue. What WPR is saying, and it is in the development agreement, that even though we are creating our fire district, we will continue the property tax at the same rate, even though a part of that funds a fire district that we won't be using. So in essence, they are assessing themselves additional money to run that fire district, but does not take away any money from the Morgan County Fire District. Does that make sense? We get a question, well, why are the recreation facilities just for the people who live there? And you know, it's several things. One is it's private property, has always been private property, and I think many people know that in the last 20 years, the former owners worked pretty hard to enforce the no trespassing. The people who who own real estate within WPR will pay a big assessment, annual fees to run those facilities. And the third one is maybe the hardest to describe, but for this buyer, spending time with a family is in a secure place is what they value the most and what is often missing from their everyday life. And the example that I can share, just because I've personally seen it, is a golfer who lives in San Diego, and his home has a bedroom wing for his kids, and those doors are fingerprint locked and unlocked. And he constantly lives in a world of having to protect his children. When they they happen to be members of Yellowstone Club in Montana that has this private use of skiing. When they go there, their kids go out skiing on themselves with their friends, and they meet up for dinner. And it's this freedom to kind of act like a normal family, if you will, because they have that security. So I don't know, that's the best way I can kind of describe that, but it's a real situation for many people like this. What is the impact to the Morgan County School District? At build out, based on 475 homes, so this is a reminder that the RSD requests 750 units, but we ran all of a third party, RC Associates, who do this analysis for a living, ran the economic impact on 475 homes, because the last thing we would want to do is to overstate any type of financial benefit. So based on 475 homes, WPR will contribute over $25 million every year to the Morgan County School District when 475 homes are built. This is a situation because it's a mill levy that it doesn't matter whether this is a primary or secondary home for folks. They are assessed the same amount. It's our understanding the district today receives $8 million in property tax revenue. The financial impact to the county. There's a question, well, what's this going to cost the county? It doesn't. This development, based on 475 homes, will generate $9 million each year at the point in time that 475 homes are built. And we just kind of did an analysis, or RC did analysis to say, well, what happens partway in? Well, approximately 8 years into this development, $4 million in property tax revenue is being generated. There's also been a question, well, the economic impact's been based on the assumption that 90% of these 475 homes are second homes and therefore pay the full ride of the property tax assessment. We think that is an extremely realistic number, but what if it's 50%? It still generates over $7 million per year. And as you all know, I mean, the county's working hard to find ways to generate revenue for the county and exploring a lot of things. So I think that this ends up being a pretty big benefit. Jobs will certainly, there'll be a lot of job opportunity in this project. So some of it is year-round employment, some of it is seasonal employment. But it's everything from managers and directors to ski instructors, ski patrol, and the food and beverage cooks and waitresses. And then that does not include all of the jobs that will be generated from the construction and the services that will be retained to support these homes. Question 9, and there's only 10, so we're going to get through this here in a minute. So what happens if the project fails? There's been a lot of concern of, well, do we, the citizens of Morgan County, get stuck with this? And the answer is no. So Wasatch Peak Ranch is not asking the county for any financial assistance to build an infrastructure, and they have no obligation to step in should the project stall. And we don't know, and we've talked to attorneys who have more knowledge of this, that said they don't know if projects in Utah where the government has had to pick up the financial pieces in places where they've not provided some type of guarantee. So they might guarantee a bond or float a bond on behalf of the development. This is not the request for Wasatch Peaks Ranch. And also, no one could come in and do something substantially different with this property. That's what the benefit, that certainty that I was talking about that the county gets through this RSD and through the development agreement. So if someone wanted to come in and say, oh gosh, it's not 750, it's 2,500, or we want to open this area for full public use, they would have to start over with this process and create this entire RSD zoning application process. A new development agreement, a new conceptual land plan, and all of the studies that I had previously described. The other question we've heard is, hey, we know we're expected to fence out. The answer is yes. We know. There will be grazing to continue on part of the property, and Wasatch Peaks Ranch knows that it has now been added to the development agreement, so there's no doubt that they will fence out cattle from areas where they don't want them. So the RSD rezone criteria is pretty clear. Lance covered this in his staff report, conform to applicable provisions in the county's general plan. The planning commission did spend a lot of time in that. There are a lot of provisions that it does comply with. Some of them are not applicable, and it does conform to all of the provisions in the RSD and the code. It better preserves the property and neighborhood by integrating the planning and design that would otherwise be possible under this zoning. And you're like, well, how does that happen? Well, that happens because if, with the current zoning, there's no regulations for building color, building material, reflective, non-reflective roofs, where roads go. I mean, there's a lot that you could do on a 160-acre piece of property that would be far more impactful than what is being proposed with this project. Contributes positively to the long-term economic sustainability. We described that. LRYD in Salt Lake did a third-party review, and you all have read that their positive response to that. And we have shown through the infrastructure master plan that roads, water, sewer, and other elements of infrastructure can be accommodated on the site. One of the things is the request to change the future land use plan of the general future land use map of the general plan. It's been amended 14 times since 2010. So it's something that the county has done before. I work in a lot of counties. I've worked in quite a few cities and counties here along the range in Utah, and it's very common. This type of change is kind of what you would expect, the piece of change you would expect, because when you create a general plan, you can't possibly have a crystal ball clear enough that you can know exactly what the future is going to bring you. So this is very normal. This RSD rezone is the first step. There's a lot more of approvals that would happen. Morgan County will look at the subdivision plat process at a couple different times, building permits. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will have a lot of approvals, a lot of different permits. The State Engineer's Office, the Bureau of Reclamation, archaeological resources. So there's a lot more approvals that happen after this rezone. This is the first step.
All right, well, let's wrap this up and we'll open it up for your guys' questions. You know, Morgan County is growing. I've seen it in the 2.5 years I've been coming here, and all of you guys know much better than me that change that is happening. We looked at the U.S. Census Bureau. Morgan County has grown 27% since 2010 and July of 2018. Again, you guys know it better than me. We see it every day. So I think in conclusion, I hope you guys have enjoyed our presentation and have a better understanding of the components of our application and what we think are the facts of the project. In addition to the financial benefits for the county, the project will provide additional benefits. These we've touched on. They include the preservation of 8,500 acres of land that will remain for open space and for recreation. We will practice responsible land management. We are going to develop a land management plan that balances the needs of the wildlife, the agricultural uses, and the forestry management plan. None of these things have existed on that property by any of the previous owners. We highlighted the snowmaking on the mountain and how that would benefit the surface flows and the hydrogeological systems. And again, we will better preserve the development of this land than what someone can do under this existing zone. The 1 unit per 160 acres. That would allow roads to crisscross the entirety of that property, all the way from the north end to the Forest Service sheds down at Farmington Canyon Road. There would be no concentration of development, there would be no design guidelines, and there would be no open space requirement with development under that existing zoning. This is 750 units. As many of you, as you know, there was another serious buyer who wanted to put in a public ski resort with more than 5,000 homes on this exact piece of property. Well, this is an opportunity for us. I hope everyone here tonight and everyone in Morgan can also see that this is an opportunity for the community. We feel blessed to be able to provide resources for Morgan County to decide what you want for the future of your children, your schools, your seniors, and the other community facilities and services that meet the Morgan County goals. Thank you. I'm happy to take any questions.
Hey, questions for the applicant?
I have a question. Obviously, the economic benefits are the major benefits that this could provide, and it's what something that differentiates this project from our current subdivisions or what we approved recently. And I know that LYRB or LRYB? Yeah, they did a study showing a significant economic benefit. And in that study, it showed that 95% of the homes will be secondary, or is that your assessment?
Our assessment in our RRC analysis, the fiscal impact statement that was included in the application, was for 90% and second homes.
And is that enforceable, or do you enforce that?
It can't be. No, it really is a function of where people spend the majority of their time, and a function of, we think, the easy access to the Wasatch Front, to the airport, to the demographic that we're targeting. With only 750 homes, these price points for land, homes, condos, townhomes are going to be extremely high. The component for the HOA buy-in and the annual HOA fees are going to be significant, and this is targeting a demographic that has multiple residences. When you have multiple residences, you will look at the state tax liabilities, and Utah falls into the middle of rankings on state tax liability. There are other states out there with zero state income tax, and that's a big decision when people have multiple homes of what that costs them in where they qualify their primary residence.
And you mentioned in that last statement, you talked about how there was a potential of a buyer. A lot of questions I received is, if it was public, we would receive a lot of sales tax from that. What kind of sales tax would we receive from this type of development, the amenities that you offer there?
So the sales tax revenue is in the economic benefit report. We did the calculation just based on, sales tax that we generated on property. And that's not the big benefit to the county, it's really property tax sales. What LIRB said is that, we were too conservative in the calculation of sales tax revenue generated because we didn't account for the sales and purchases that would happen off property. And in their review, if I remember right, but they said that we were $14 million short on our estimate of what the probable sales generation would be. Now, obviously, sales tax is just 3.6% of that. But this is, the economic benefit comes primarily from property tax revenue from this project.
You said you were gonna limit the density on planning areas A and B. So what do you expect that average kind of lot size, that's single family residential, A and B?
It's early in our concept plan. So while we have allocated units per area, we haven't laid out the exact locations of lots. We think there could be some concentrated development up near where the skiing is, so that there's a walkability. And where those limits come in transferability. A and B there behind you on the north end of the property, and difficult to read, but you can find this both in the application and on our website. All of the other land use areas, we've asked that there can be 25% transferability in those. Again, we're only at concept level plan right now, but A and B, incorporating feedback that we received from the work group and concerns about visual impact on the north end, we've limited those unit counts to the unit counts listed in that table.
Next. All good down there?
I've got some questions on the development agreement itself. Is that, are we good to go into that now?
After questions to that. Do you have a question?
On the development agreement? So,
I mean, it doesn't matter.
development agreement, how do you?
Mike, just say,
So my question is, are we moving the development agreement now, or are we doing public hearing and then doing the development agreement? So the presentation's over, correct? I don't care if we do it, it's going to be Apple in the middle and install.
You want to get public comment first and then we can get into details, or?
So this is my thought on it. I have questions and frankly some edits to your development agreement that I've been working on. And I think that for the benefit of the public that hears tonight, we ought to have our public hearing. I don't think we're making a decision on this tonight. And I think
No.
we'll have time to talk through details of the development agreement next meeting.
okay, so I got a couple questions for you then.
Yep.
So, Becky, in your presentation, you said you got 8,500 acres, it's gonna be open space, it's gonna remain undeveloped. But yet, in your development, if you go to our definition, that means you don't put anything, you don't cut roads, you don't do anything. For our definition to the county. So you're planning on doing development in the 8,500 acres.
So in the resort special district language itself, in the ordinance, it states that open space includes, can include recreation.
Okay, and that's in your development agreement.
That's in the ordinance.
But that's in your development, so that's okay.
It's also in the development.
Yeah. Okay, so the
But
other
we're allowed to
question,
do it because it's in the ordinance.
okay, the other question, you talked about, I thought Robert would ask this, but anyway, we had the same question. You're talking about water, okay? They're gonna release an acre foot of water out for every acre foot of water you pull out of the ground. Correct? So, how are we getting that acre foot of water back in the ground? because the rivers are sealed, it's not like it's gonna absorb out. You mentioned that it's coming in. I'm just concerned with, if we're drawn down, how are we getting it back in the river?
Well, so there is a permeability to those river bottoms. So the river does recharge the aquifer. And that 2013 State Geological and U.S. Geological report talks about that and even gives numbers. 661,000 acre-feet of water coming in, and in the aquifer, 600,000 acre-feet going out. So there is a permeability in that river, and that's how all those exchange applications do work and allow Weber Basin Water Conservation District to exchange the water that comes out of the surface, comes out of the ground in exchange for water that's released upstream. And that includes small users, ag users that have older or grandfathered in leases, and development uses like ours. Additionally, that's vetted by the state engineer that there's water available within those groundwater systems and our points of diversion through test wells and wells for, and well locations where we designate our points of diversion.
Okay, you have all the geological stuff to back all that.
We will, yep, we will. And vetted by the State Geological and the Utah engineer, and provided for public consumption. In our exchange application that we're replacing the 2007 application that the previous owner had filed.
Okay, I think it was in question 5, we talked about it's private property. For the last 20 years, people have been accessing the CrossNet illegally, however you want to look at it. And the question is, there's property within your property and property on the other side of it.
Yep.
How are we addressing?
I've met with representatives of both the Thurstons on the west side up there of Lime Creek and the Bowman family who have the in-holding, and we in no way will impinge on their historic prescriptive access rights to their property. Now, I've met
Is that something you're willing to do as on a deed, make that?
We're looking at it with an MOU, at least at this point, a memo of understanding, because those are historic prescriptive easement rights. We need our land use attorney to weigh in on how we memorialize that. It can't go all the way as a right-of-way where suddenly they can allow anybody on there. But we know that they have historic use rights, historic access rights, and in all these cases, ongoing rights that they've been crossing that. And that's what is why we've sat with the Thurston family and the Bowman family.
So how do they guarantee that right after the end of the one year?
Well, there needs to be some type of memorialization, and that's what the MOU, if Robert has ideas, this is something that was new, that just came about this week with the recent activities and the recent meetings with them that we've started discussing that. We have not engaged prior to that with the Bowmans in just sensitivity of the development and really in identifying who we would talk to. I believe some of the Bowmans are here tonight, and as they will tell you, and same with Fred's son, Kevin, that we've talked about memorializing that. And we don't know what that looks like, but we are working on it, and we've contacted our land use attorneys for that. And we can provide and keep the council appraised of how that progresses in our suggestion as we work through these next meetings.
Okay. So on number 3, you're talking about building height. So you're proposing a 45-foot building height as opposed to the county's 35.
Correct. These are very steep slopes. When building on steep slopes, you have a lot of reveal on those lower levels, and the calculation on those building heights is how we arrived at that 45-foot for single-family residence.
So is that 45 foot from the low side or from the high side? That's a huge difference.
Finished grade.
On the low side or the high side?
Because if it was 45 on the high side, and on the low side, you're
45 degrees, yes.
And Lance can verify this, but the county calculates that on an average, right? You take a measurement on every side of the house and get an average, and that's what it is.
commercial and condos. And so that could be a mixed-use building with commercial on the first floor. And similar to the lodge that we've also requested 90 feet. There's one location in the heart of that Peterson Bowl where the village location would be. We've asked for that 90-foot height restriction or height allowance.
Okay, so then, because I'm different than most, on number 7, you're talking about the finances to the county.
Yes.
And you're talking about 9 million of build out. Build out is proposed to be around 25 years. Okay?
We're forecasting a 15-year schedule for that.
The one deal I read said 25 years with an extension up to 15.
That's the period that we would have the ability to continue to construct should we go through multiple economic cycles that we plan. So,
Okay.
yep.
All right, so my question is, because one, Daryl asked about the 90% secondary homes. So that's based on 90% of these being secondary homes.
Correct, with a conservative perspective of only 475 units, because when we ran the math and did the analysis on 750 units, the numbers were obscene compared to current Morgan County property taxes, school
Okay, so-
budgets.
Okay, so you're basing it off of 475 homes. The question is, if these all become primary residents, we now drop down to what?
7 million per year on 475. Oh, sorry. So 4.5
We're gonna
million.
cut that all in half.
100% primary resident, $4.5 million per year on just property taxes. But it's important to note the school component does not change because that mill levy is 7.56-ish, and that is assessed on every home, regardless of first, second type home, or if you're getting your homestead exemption.
Well, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to the school, but we're not talking about the school.
Okay.
Okay, we're talking about the county, and I'm looking at what revenue this is bringing to the county. Because I understand the tax rates and all that with the school, I understand all that. I'm just looking at, if all these now become primary homes, because you mentioned, depending on where you spend most of your time, this could now become your primary resident, we've now dropped down to maybe $3 million, $3.5 million of revenue.
Half of the 9.9, so, or, no, sorry, 55% of what's in the YLRB analysis. So, homestead exemption in Utah, your taxes, if it's a primary residence, are discounted by 45%. So it would be 55% of those, of the $9 million would come through to the county property tax.
Okay, so we're
About
talking.
5 million.
Assuming only 475.
Exactly.
With Bill.
Correct.
You add on the other 300 and.
Okay. That's all I got for right now.
I did have one question. It reminded me when you talked about the 45. You did your view shed analysis. You put them in at all at 45.
We did. So we put, single family in at 45, so basically the absolute maximum that a house could be, was what was in the new simulation. And then similarly with anything multifamily, and even though it's a townhome, so a townhome is probably going to be 45 feet tall. But we put it in at 75. So we put every little building prototype in at its absolute maximum.
Oh, it's another, okay, man. Okay. Member Kilmer, I have one, then I got one more.
So, Member Swan is going to do the snowmaking. I've heard a lot of talk about snowmaking.
Robert, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
That's my
Please speak up.
I've heard a lot of talk from snowmaking in areas of ski resorts and the damage that it does and what it does to the water supplies. I have not seen anything definitive on that. What have you got to prove that what's put in that snowmaking is not going to damage water supply? It's not going to have adverse effect to irrigation and the drinking water?
So for a quick summary of the bacteria, it is an inert bacteria that is scraped off the leaves of plants, and it is approved for use by the USDA and the Forest Service. So I can get you detailed information about that, and if there are detailed analyses of damage to local water systems or ecosystems around resorts or not, I'm sure with the sensitivity of water and the large number of resorts up in Summit County and some of our resources and team members who have worked up there, I can get you detailed information about that.
We get a lot of that, with East Canyon issues with the nitrates and stuff. I know a lot of that's from water treatment facilities, but I don't know how much of that is from. Thanks, Thank you.
Okay, then last question I got, you're talking about no impact to the county. I'm looking at it now because our biggest issue is our roads. Okay, your main access is Peterson. Right. What's your plan for addressing from the Peterson exit to the start of your development?
So if our traffic impact study is included in that application, and the growth from our impact in Peterson is less than the natural growth of what's happening along Morgan Valley Drive. They said that organic growth proposed along Morgan Valley Drive will exceed our impacts there. We will do what's required if a turn lane is required to be put in. One note of clarification, that is our main point of access initially. Our goal is to develop a north access over there off exit 92, crossing the train tracks and the Weaver River and landing on our property as quickly as possible. And there's agreements and requirements in both the RSD and our development agreement to develop a second point of access.
Okay, so has there been any, I guess this is more of a question for our county engineer. Has there been any discussion as far as the damage to our roads that is created once you start?
There has not, but I think there is some cost. Well, there's no impact to the county. There is minimal impact to the county. And that's included in the YLRB and the RRC analysis. There are some costs to the roads for repaving that are exponentially less than the fiscal benefits that we believe this project brings to the county.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, let's just sit down.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, we are going to take a 5-minute recess real quick. We will come back here at what time? Okay. First of all, I have to hold them both up because they're both connected. First of all, from the council's point, I want to thank you immensely for your patience, for being quiet, listening, paying attention. We're going to go into our public comment time, public hearing now. This is the one thing that I do ask. I know there's pros and cons to this development. I ask that if you have cat calls and no's and yeses, that you keep them to yourself while whoever's at the pulpit is talking. You'll have your chance if you choose. And we're going to go to that point. We'll start with. All I maybe can see our little clock over there, but Jeremy is the timekeeper. He's going to give me a 30-second deal. You got 3 minutes. Okay? When you hit 30 seconds, we're going to let you know. And when you hit 3 minutes, I'm cutting you off. We got a lot of people that want to make comments. We don't need to give it a testimonial for 45 minutes. We'll start with this list. We'll see how it goes, and if we have time, the council will decide if we're going to take any more comments. We're going to go to that point. So the first one up, well, hold it. I need a motion to go into public hearing. What?
How do I reset this?
Oh, where's my? Now. It is to me that she had multiple papers, and I picked them all up. So I guess my question is, everybody that signed in, how many of you wanted to make comments? Because I only have 6 people on this page.
Dude, this is...
Didn't know where it was.
Well, that's because I picked them all up. So this is what we're gonna do. I need a motion to go into public hearing first. Motion by member Kilmer, second by member Valentine. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start here with this list. There's 6 people, and then after that, you better be quick. Because if it stalls very long, we're closing this public hearing. Okay? So if you got comments, now is the time to make it. So we're gonna start with Cindy Carter.
Tell them to come to the damn meeting.
Thank you. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to voice my opinion and concern, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I, along with my husband and sons, own ICOR Technologies that is based here in Morgan. We started ICOR in 2008 in the middle of the economic downturn and built our company from the first penny that was put in to what it is today. In building this company, remembering what my father has taught me, good things do not come easy. You have to work hard for them, plain and simple. When our company is presented an opportunity that is a home run with no hard work and no trade-offs, I know it's not true or feasible. It just doesn't work that way. That is exactly what this project is presenting to this county. A home run with no work or trade-offs for many of us. They're telling us we're going to gain $9 million plus in tax revenue, and we're not going to have to do much to give them a zone change. With all due respect, that's just too easy. I came here this evening with my mother-in-law, Lizine Carter. She and I didn't sign the letter that is in front of you guys, and I would just like you to know that they just celebrated their 70th anniversary here in Morgan. They raised 9 children here in Morgan, and I want to share a little story with you. This year, my grandsons, Ivan and Ludine's great-grandsons, who are privileged to be the 7th generation to live in this great county, became old enough to move sprinkler pipe. I would like to share a moment that I spent with Ivan as he's watching those 2 young boys move sprinkler pipe on the same field that he drove a team of horses on to farm. Cindy, this is so great for these boys. It gives them the knowledge and the confidence that they can do hard things. My friends, those are words of wisdom that we should all take to heart. I know we can all do hard things by working together. I know there are better ways for us to generate more tax revenue. It is going to take hard work and compromise from all of us. I ask you, please do not allow the culture of this county to change. It is a gem. It shines its light in times of dark. It is precious. It is as precious as the future generations to come. It deserves our honor, our respect, and most importantly, it deserves hard work from all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy Turner. Your 3 minutes don't start till you get to the podium.
You should go back. I would like to just address a couple of facts. First of all, when I just heard someone say that paying a secondary home would be obscene, I agree. I pay for a secondary home. But I don't know why they should get a special exemption. Secondly, I'm really concerned about the roads that we were talking about. The roads to the development, great. They're all set. But the residents drive on normal roads, and I'm sure these people are going to have to as well. So that's going to say with 750 homes, that's going to be between 3,000 and 5,000 extra cars on the roads, because every family has at least 4 vehicles, and plus their toys. So we're going to be involved with all of that that's taking place. I also want to talk just a little bit about the Morgan values that we have. I look around here and I know you, and I know that you grew up in Morgan as well. The only thing is, why did you come here if you didn't grow up here? Why did you come to Morgan? Because you had a certain way of life that you wanted to have. And so people come here all the time, and then they change and want to bring exactly what they left here. I think we here, and I would say most of the people here, want to preserve those Morgan values that we have, and sadly, money doesn't pay for those values. Money talks, I know that. I know how much we need revenue and all of those things to make everything that we do great. But we have to realize, do we want to sell our souls for that money? Do we want to ruin this valley? Once it's gone, we can't get it back. We have Park City already. We have Snow Basin. We have all kinds of golf courses in Ogden. People can drive there easily. Why do we need our own resort? We don't. Also, I'm very concerned that it might impact bicycle races. I know we get a lot of money from those, because how many of those people will keep me, they might hit some of those bicycles that are driving down the Peters. I'm really concerned about them. Actually, I'm not, that. But I just want to reiterate, we don't want to come to Morgan just to change it. Use plain talk. Don't get involved in all of the extra stuff, and don't try to help them out. Make them work for what they want to have. I heard tonight a couple of people tell them kind of what to say. And I don't like that. Okay? So think of Morgan values. Why did you come here? Why are you living here now? Don't change it for the rest of us. Thank you.
Kurt Morgan. How are we doing our timing? Good? Go ahead.
Thanks for taking me. I'm pretty nervous to be standing up here in front of you all and all that, but it's been quite clear that I need to be up here and stand. That piece of ground right up there has been my whole life for 20 years, and I've worked my butt off on that thing and done a lot of work. But no matter how much work I've done up there, it's not mine. I didn't buy it. It's not mine. No matter how bad I want that to not happen, I can't change it. It isn't my ground. The only thing that I can do is work with him to run cattle the same way that I've been doing, or as close as I can, on open space and all of that is possible, and cluster the houses together. I don't know how to explain it better than that. It is a closed community. It's closed. It's already closed. Nobody can get in there right now. There's two people, us and R&K. And that's it. Why there's a discussion about that is the fine tuning of you guys' deal. But where I stand with that is close the community, tighten it up, and leave open space so that you don't have little teeny chunks as much as you can. That's where I stand with it. And anybody, whatever that is, and I'm sorry about that. That's my stand on it. I think you guys do good work. You guys fine tune.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Jones.
My wife and two sons full-time ranching in this county, have been since I was a small boy. I put a lot of time coming to meetings when you guys were developing the master plan. And if you know anything about agriculture, there's not a lot of extra time, but we tried to show up. And I have a question for the county. I've been to a lot of these development plans, and every one of them, we should have so much money, it is unreal. Where did the money go? All this tax revenue from all the, we have what, 12? How many recent developments do we have in the county? Quite a few of them. And it always the same. It's going to bring lots of money to us, and I don't think so. I didn't hear anything about traffic and the congestion on the two-lane highway leaving the freeway to get to here. I don't know how we're going to address that. Not sure where we're at on the fence law yet. I haven't heard. But if you're going to do this, you better make a whole bunch of changes. Cattle don't necessarily stay where they're supposed to. Also, trees blow down on fences. And I'm guessing if they get in one of these yards, someone's going to be very unhappy. And I'm guessing you can't ride a horse up to get it out, so then what? Anyway, I'm not for changing the zone. I think we're good right now. But if we're going to change it, I have a couple of thousand acres of land, and I want to, let's change mine too, and we'll go somewhere else. We like the rural lifestyle. We like it. One more thought. I've had one car wreck every year in a tractor and a car. When you bring more traffic, more congestion, and they're all in a hurry and they don't care about farmers. Thanks.
Thank you. Kobe Johnson.
My mom said to talk loud. This is the first time I've ever stood and done this before, and I apologize if I don't have an attorney's tongue. I've been attending these meetings just this year. And this is the first time I've stood up. I really wanted to understand what was going on. I actually do respect Ed. And Ed, I even love you, buddy. But I do disagree with the cultural change that's going to happen is what really concerned me from the very beginning. And after I met with a few of the council members, I was really concerned because I would hear that nobody from the county is showing up to the meetings and voicing their opinion. And so I really thought about that, and that's what inspired the letter that was written. And it's pretty amazing to be a part of a county that after just 5 days, 700 people will sign a letter that had everything to do with culture. And it says a lot about this county. It says a lot about the hearts of the moms and dads, the grandpas and grandmas, and even, you know, my 12-year-old son that's been riding around in the car with me during this process. We all love this county, and I think people on both sides love the county, and they want to preserve the culture. I just hope that as you guys are weighing it out, that we're not motivated by money. I think that we could all learn a valuable lesson with that, that money is not everything. We'll never have enough money. There never will be enough money. And at the end of the day, the happiest people I know in this valley, some of them have a lot of money and you'd never know it. And some of them barely have enough money and you'd never know it. And anyway, I just appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the time you guys have all taken. I hope that with as big a change as this is, that we don't just rush. The county has woken up, and we are concerned, and I hope that in the end, the best thing can happen for everybody. But I just plead with you to please don't rush the decision before you've really had a chance to understand the hearts of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Johnson.
I guess I just want to echo a lot of what Kobe just said, and I won't kind of rehash it, but we moved here about 9 years ago. I live in Milton, specifically because of the culture that's here. And, you know, this is a huge change that we're talking about. This isn't, you know, the normal thing that when people come and talk about doing a rezone. This is a major, major deal. And, you know, I think the farmer that was up here a couple of people ago expressed one of my biggest concerns is that we aren't just talking about this deal. You know, so this seems to me to be a precedent-setting sort of a situation where if we start down this path, every other landowner is going to say, hey, the reason I'm here no longer exists. Everything's changing. I want you to rezone my property too. And how are you going to be able to say, well, we only wanted to do it for, you know, Wasatch Peaks. We don't want to do it for you. And so I think this is sort of the point where we have the opportunity to decide, is this what we want? You know, do we want to go down the road of becoming more like Park City, or don't we? And that's not to say anything bad about Park City. I'm sure the people that live there for a reason and they love it. But I think the people that live in Morgan live here because we have the culture and the environment that we have. You know, that's why I live here. The other point I wanted to make is that, I was very pleased to hear the questions that you had for the developer about the tax aspect of all of this. Because in the end, I don't think there's a single one of you that's sitting there that was, as we were putting the plan together, thought, you know, what we really need is to have a private development with a private golf course and a private ski resort and 700 multi-million-dollar homes. That's what we want. I don't think anybody was thinking that. And so the only reason that we're even considering this is because there's the potential for some significant tax revenue. But I think it's really important that we keep that word potential in there. I work in the wealth management business. I've had the opportunity to see some of these kinds of projects in the past. on a pretty detailed level, and many of them have not worked. Specifically, you've got Mount Holly and Beaver that went bankrupt. That was supposed to be the ultimate private ski resort and private golf course in the country that was designed to allow people to escape the paparazzi. That didn't work at all. You've got Huntsman Springs and Driggs, which was a private golf course in one of the most beautiful places in the country that has not done anything close to what the developers thought it was going to do.
30 seconds.
Okay, so basically the bottom line is, I think the $4 million that they're talking about might be, they're saying that's kind of low end. It could be way less than that. And so if we're making a decision just based on tax revenue, let's make sure that we apply a big discount factor to what the tax revenue might be.
Thank you. Okay, so it sounded like most of you signed up on this paper. We'll start from there. Lily Allen, you want to talk? And I will mark these, Stacy, so that you know which ones are public comment.
So what, I'm doing 3?
Okay?
We got there. Okay, so my name is Lily Allen. I have gained and understand the unique issues that our community faces on a daily basis. It's a common discussion in groups that our county's budget is slim for basic county needs, and the budget has a constant hard time keeping up with the demands of roads, sewer, police, fire, emergency management. And it seems we chase our tails trying to entice businesses to come grow our commercial tax base. The problem reason they have not is not enough rooftops and traffic to support and entice local businesses. We continue to build more rooftops, which in turn has cost the county taxpayers much more by weighing down our infrastructure, causing more roads to be built, providing more emergency personnel services, and needing to build more schools. In short, what we need is more tax dollars to support our continually growing community. I spoke with planning and development, and they informed me the Commons alone is only at 30 to 35% build out. With 5 more phases approved and adding other intel developments, we are looking at a total of 6,000 possible homes, with 0 proposed commercial base at this point. I hear people complain of these things daily. It's common conversation, but we now finally have an opportunity before us. I've read Wasatch Peaks RSD and have a very good understanding of the proposed development. I have been impressed most by the level of respect for our community reflected in the RSD. They are not requesting county subsidy to help with development. They respect the land and have ensured the aesthetics of the area will remain virtually unchanged. The employment opportunities this will bring to our community are enlarged, and the opportunity for teams to work locally will increase. Lastly, the property tax revenue that will be generated from this residential development will greatly enhance opportunities for our economic growth without putting additional strains on our current infrastructure. This can help balance the scales between economic development and infrastructure, which is greatly needed at this time. The majority of residents do not support and cannot handle continual tax increases, and this development will not add tax strain on current residents. It should actually even for residents and those on fixed incomes who can't afford to stay in the county when their taxes have more than doubled in the past 10 years. I strongly believe this is an opportunity that will provide us the continued lifestyle that binds each of us to our beautiful valley, while also boosting our economy. I want to be on record I am in support of Wasatch Peaks.
Thank you. Emily Cox.
Okay, I'll be super fast. One of the things that I remember at the last meeting that was said by an individual, and I don't remember who that person is, but they mentioned that the people that would move into Wasatch Peaks would be evil. And it really, because they're rich, right? These are evil people that are going to change the culture of our community. And, I really personally think that all of us, every single one of us in this room, have changed the culture of this community in some way. And personally, we shouldn't be an exclusive club where we won't allow anyone else to move in here. I moved here 12 years ago from Oregon, and I'm so grateful that this community embraced me. And come to find out, We're Thurston people, and we stare at Thurston's Peak every single day out of our window. And I am so grateful to know that that someone didn't say, this is an exclusive club. We want to cut off right now. We don't want you to move into our community. I think that we need to open our hearts and be a little bit more responsible with our feelings when it comes to who we're going to allow into our community and who we're not. So anyway, I am support of Wasatch Peaks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. John Porter.
Started at the end of this room. I don't think it's a question of whether Morgan's going to grow. That's already been decided. I think you've got 5,000 lots that will be approved at some point. So it's not a question of whether there will be growth. And to that significant point, I don't think it would be wise or fair to put up a gate and say that's it for anybody else. To me, the question is whether we want a resort community or whether we want a growth community. When you look at the other, on the other side of the mountain, there's been a lot of growth. You look at Syracuse, there's businesses follow homes. Businesses follow subdivisions. And so there may not be anybody on the list now. I don't know whether that's true or not. But I can tell you, if you put in 5,000 homes, you can have retail, you'll have commercial, and you have, Morgan has had enough foresight to build some industrial. So when you look at the master plan that was laid out years ago, which I thought was a great foresight when they laid it out, there's things that need to happen in this county. There are needs that naturally they have to come. But once you start a resort, man, it's hard not to have more resorts, because it's a great place. And so when you look at the valley and where we're going, you get to make a decision, we get to make a decision whether it's going to be growth with families and homes or whether it's going to be growth with resorts. Add to the list mentioned earlier, I have friends who lived up in Bozeman when Yellowstone came, Yellowstone development. And that did bring a lot of money, and it absolutely changed their culture. It changed significantly what the nature and the people there who come there, who they become. And so we want to welcome everybody who comes, the people who come here. We're happy to have them. These guys put in $40 million, whatever it is. They deserve the homes that they have requested. But do they deserve to increase that 110 homes to 750? I don't know why we would make that change and change the nature of our community.
Thank you. Kim Warner.
Permit me just for a second to mention a couple of experiences that I've had with the Wasatch Peaks thus far. Back in February of this year, when Wasatch Peaks had an open house in Peterson, a number of my family and I had a chance to meet up with Ed Schultz and some of his co-workers. Because of our water rights involvement on their property, we approached this evening having many questions, but we're quite optimistic, mainly because of some positive comments that were made by a number of our community leaders concerning them. As the open house progressed, we were impressed that everyone we talked to was not only courteous and kind, but more importantly, very knowledgeable concerning our water rights involvement. They all made commitments not to impede on those rights, and to date, they've been true and honorable to those commitments. Soon after that open house, we had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Schultz, where we discussed our water rights in detail. And again, it was committed not to impede on them, and again, they honored those commitments. In the early summer, Mr. Schultz informed us that they would be drilling a test hole on the south side of the Weaver River, just up from our property and that of another neighbor. and they would draw down the approximate volume of water congruent with the shares that they rightfully own, and did that to make sure that they would not affect not only our water demand, but also that of our neighbor, and did it at their cost and shared with us the pertinent data. It's obvious that Wasatch Peaks is desiring to be in Morgan County for the long haul, and have decided to show integrity, be good neighbors. Based on what I've experienced with them thus far, I'm looking forward to getting to know them better in the future. Needless to say, it's been difficult for myself to see that the small rural community of just over a dozen homes from Mountain Green to Peterson to what it currently is, and realize that it's here to stay and never ever will be the same. We need competent planning, we need a strong and secure tax base, we desire to keep the atmosphere beautiful and rural as possible. We continue to need people and organizations with honesty and integrity and desire to be Morgan County and to be in Morgan County for the long haul, and not just for a return on their investments.
Thank you. Ron Whittier.
I'm sure I'll be loud enough because I speak louder than I probably should have half to death, I think. But when we was here last time, there was a comment made that some of the people that are down there that are a part of this, as far as impact to community, the biggest impact will be on Whittier Farm, because that's where the road goes through. There's only about a 1/16 of a mile off the freeway exit that's going to be on Morgan Valley Drive once you get down the hill. And then it'll be on the Whittier property until they get their entrance on the north end, which naturally I hope is soon. But with all that in mind, if you was going to talk to the people most impacted, while we remember that we should never make a business decision based on emotion. And I see a lot of emotion here tonight. A lot of people feel they're fighting for what's already been here, what was here. And I'm one of them people too. I love what we have here. I love our culture. But our culture is changing. There's a bunch of homes coming. I don't want to get down the road 20 years and all we have is homes and high taxes and a lot of traffic. We do need income. When people say it's not about money, think again. It is about money. The jobs that people have in this community are based on money. If we keep good people here, you're going to have to pay them to keep them here. So as I think about the people I'd like to hear from tonight, it would be Kim Carroll and Bill Warner. They're involved. Randy Sessions, he's involved. Myself, I'm involved. We've also got Dane Danzy's involved. We've got Liz Lucido involved. We've got Dave and Julie Croft involved. We've got the Bowmans and the Cobies involved. Gene Sandman's involved. And then we go over and we run into to Mark DeYoung, he's involved. We've got Dave Wright involved. We've got Mike Morgan involved. And we've got Gary Bowen involved. And we've also got Brent Anderson. Those are the ones all the way from Dalton Creek to the mouth of the canyon that are involved with this and most affected. And none of them had a payoff. None of them had anybody show up and give us money. I know there was the thought that we're all getting rich. We're not getting anything. If you want to be a part of Wasatch Development, this part, you would have to be owners, or you'd have to, the Whittier Farm's not involved with it. It does impact us. The biggest concern I've got, and you'll all remember, there was an outfit called Saddlebrook that came in and proposed a plan to our community. And eventually, it fell by the wayside. And eventually, Harry Wilson's farm, 1,000 acres, got developed into the Cottonwoods. Now, the Cottonwoods, when it's done, there's 250 homes approved, and there's about 500 homes now. Pretty similar to the same thing. It falls on 1,000 acres. And guess what? That's my view shed. I used to look over there and see the alfalfa, and I used to look and see the grain. But I'm not complaining. There's a lot of great people. I know there's people over there that don't like this because this is their view shed. But the impact, you've got the same amount of homes going on 12,740 acres versus 1,000 acres.
I gotta catch you. That's 3 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Mary Kay Conley, is that correct? Okay, Trevor Colby.
All right, so if we look at the picture up there, the square that's in the middle is the Bowman Homestead. So this obviously impacts us quite a bit. A couple things I'd like to point out. One, since Wasatch Peaks has begun to look at their development, Ed has been somebody that's been very open and always available to talk about what they're planning, why they're planning it, listening to us on what our concerns are. We do have some concerns. With that piece of property right there, we want to make sure we can always access it. And while Ed's been somebody who's been great to work with, as people change, our concern is, does somebody with a lot of money try to contest that? And that's why we're working with Ed and his team to say, regardless of what happens, how do we make sure we have the assurances that we can access our property? We also have questions. Now, I'm open to other suggestions. I'd like to know if people are against it. What are the options? I want to know what options are. And lastly, we talk about Morgan values, and I've often thought, is the Morgan culture a McMansion on a quarter-acre lot? Is it my half-acre in Peterson? Is it a farm with a lot of land around it? I think Morgan culture and values about the people and how we treat each other, and less about the size of those developments.
Thank you. Ken Duncan.
I really wasn't going to say anything because I am not a public speaker, but...
Well, if you don't want us to talk, you don't have to.
Okay. I got a couple of things I kind of jotted down here that I thought I would talk about. Number one, I feel that they did a very good job of presenting their outlay and whatnot. And if you listened, I think they answered most of your questions. They certainly did mine. Another thought I had is, if you have an owner property, you should be able to do what you want on your property. How many of us would like to have somebody come and say, you can't do this on your property? You know? You feel you have a right to do most everything that's lawful on your own property. Well, the people that are not in favor of will be the ones that are here, not the ones that don't care or have it for it. They don't usually show up. It's the ones that are against it. Another thing on water rights, being the past Dalton Creek water master, I found out that there is a lot of people that don't know a thing about a water right. I'll guarantee you that. So leaving those thoughts, why, thank you.
Thank you. Matt Wilson.
After all these good people, I don't know if I can add anything very intelligent to this. However, I agree with Brother Duncan on his right that we should be able to do whatever we want with our property. However, it seems as though we're trying to change and rezone. I'm happy with them doing whatever they want to do on their property with what they bought. They bought a certain piece of property with certain zoning that we created as Morgan. And we've tried to maintain this culture, and whether we want to say we want to be a home, small community, and I understand we're going to grow. I do understand that. But I do not want to be a Park City. I do not want to be that. And I feel like we're opening Pandora's box and allowing anyone to come in here and change this whole county any way that they want to. Whenever we start changing zoning, it opens it up to everybody. As far as the property taxes go, I know that these people that will own these homes have lawyers that work for them each and every day. They will find a loophole to paying 100% property taxes. I know that. There's loopholes to it. You can look into it, but I think we need to look at that closely. That, of course, I'm going to paint the most beautiful picture I can for you as I come in here for my development. I would do the same exact thing. And I appreciate what Kobe's told me about Ed, and I think Kobe's a good judge of character. He probably is a wonderful guy, and trying to do the very best they can. But I just think we need to be very careful about what we open here and how it can spread. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brett Smith.
So I would like to just bring to everybody's attention, let's follow some correct principles here. Let's not let emotions get in the way. Let's follow correct principles. I'd like to read a quote from Thomas Paine. He said, "He that would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression. For if he violates this duty, he establishes a precedent that will reach to himself." I think it's pretty ironic. Here we're having problems with a rezone here. He's presented, a preservation of a huge amount of the acreage, and put 750, or proposal for 750 homes or living units in some smaller spaces. That makes a lot of sense to me. But let's talk about property rights here. They own the property. I've heard people say, well, we can't go up there, it's going to be private. Well, can you go up there now? It's private. I don't think so, unless the owner invites you to. But here they're asking for a rezoning. How many hundreds, if not thousands of times in the past, have people come in for rezonings? It happens all the time. So I'm just saying, let's deal with principle, correct principle. Go to our founding documents. It talks about it. Thank you.
John Lanfield?
Okay, I actually only hope one thing, and that is that I win the lottery and that I can become one of those evil people that live in that sanctuary. Because the reality of it is that I read the letter, by the way, that 716 people signed. I probably would have signed it too, because it was pretty benign. I mean, it indicated that the MU 160, as it currently stands, authorizes or allows one residence, one home. No one's going to do that. That's unquestionable, I think. Secondly, it said, well, we certainly don't want to change the culture of this beautiful place that we live. Well, I've lived here for 40 years. You think I haven't seen some of that change? I mean, it's just phenomenal in the last 15 or 20 years. The invasion that has taken place and will continue to. I mean, there's thousands more homes that are out there to be built yet. The population of Mountain Green now, and I'm not sure about it, is around 5,000. That will double probably to 10,000 or so, or even more. And 700 residences of the nature that they're proposing doesn't seem to me it's going to change the culture very dramatically. So I personally think this is a win-win situation for the county as well as for the developers. It's one of those few situations where I see it that way. I think it will provide a tremendous opportunity for the county, both in revenue as well as in the nature of the people who will live there. And so I have to say, if you wanted my vote, I'm in favor.
Thank you. McKinnon, Thurston. None? Kyle Johnson.
I did not intend to speak.
Well, you don't have to.
I didn't say that.
I'm just going off the list. Everybody said they signed this paper.
All right. Well, I'll make it quick. Daryl, I don't mean to single you out because this is the idea of all those in favor of this. Well, I think at most in favor of this development. This is what Daryl, my representative, texted. My sister says, there are a lot of different factors that play into my decision, but a big reason is that I believe property owners have rights to their property, and not just big developments. When you rezone for property owners on small parcels, the biggest reason for this one, however, is the tax benefits it could potentially produce. Now, that may be true, and I totally understand that side of the argument. But I believe it seems like the standard is people should be able to do what they want with their property. but yet we do have zoning rules to maintain the culture in the master plan. And sure, there are onesies and twosies, and there are different developments that get implemented. But if we go by the standard of they should do what they want with their property and will it produce tax revenues? If we go by that standard, what are we going to do to the next person who wants to go down a little more on the mountain? Are we going to apply that same standard if we're applying it to this one? And then to the next one, just like Jeff Jones was saying, where are we going to draw a line? And what is the view of our community? I mean, who's to say that we can deny someone the same resort if it's going to be the same type of resort as this one? So I worry that it will become a resort town like Park City. And that is my concern. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Ron Blanc, do you want to talk? Okay. Jeff Turner?
At this point, I don't know if I'm for or against the Wasatch Peaks Ranch development, but I do have some concerns. I think have been voiced here, so I'm not going to repeat that in detail. But the zoning change and how that's going to impact surrounding development is a concern that I have. But water rights and actually the water use that's going to be consumed by this development, I've heard some details I wasn't aware of before, where they're going to divert water. And my concern was, and still is, that there's going to be multiple points of diversion that are going to impact watersheds in Peterson Creek, Dalton Creek, Smith Creek, Line Creek. And that definitely impacts people downstream. And to your question, you don't put the water back up there, you're going to impact aquifers up there on the slope. Just because water's coming out of one of the dams upstream to offset that water, you don't put the water back up on the ridge so it can trickle down into those aquifers and fill. So there's the theory versus the application. I don't understand exactly where their points of diversion are going to be, but I would like to know that specifically, everyone and which watersheds are going to be impacted. There was mention of sorry, I've got a lot of notes here. The mention of 600 jobs, those are going to be resort jobs, I would assume. Is this resort going to operate year-round, and where are those people going to live? And those employees are typically a resort type of community. Those employees are used to working a seasonal job. Those are lower income jobs. They're going to need housing. So does Morgan have housing for 600 individuals currently? Are those people going to live in Davis and Weber County and drive up here, so there's no real tax revenue brought for those residents, or brought into the county by those residents because they live somewhere else, because is there somewhere here for them to live right now? Are we going to develop a bunch of apartment complexes for them to reside so they can have that lower income housing to be able to work in these resort communities? That's a concern that I have as well, and how that will impact them. I know that, like myself, there's a lot of people in this room that are, their grandparents are buried around town and in various cemeteries, and our ancestors helped settle this community. And we've all seen development and growth here, and we benefit from a lot of it. But the changes that I'm concerned with are that we wind up with a resort community and lose the intrinsic values that we appreciate and enjoy here in Morgan. There's going to be growth, and I get that, but I want it to be controlled in a manner that is best for everybody.
Thank you. Lance Johnson.
Fourth Johnson to get up here, I guess. The only thing I really like about this development is Ed here, and Curtis now too, but no, just all joking aside, I don't know that I can really echo what hasn't been echoed. These developers, they
purchased this with a lot of money, knowing how it was zoned. I mean, it was a risk and a gamble that they felt was worth doing, and I personally don't think it's our responsibility. We don't need to feel obligated, and we don't need to rush to make this investment and this money they put out there turn a profit. I mean, that's not our obligation to do that. And just echoing, I think this has been good for a lot of the community with the letter and with all the discussion. I think it has gotten more people involved, whether you're for it or against it. I mean, there's great people on both sides. I personally went around meeting with a lot of people in my neighborhood, and I would say a high majority that I met with were opposed to it. And not that they're opposed to the people coming in or it being a private community or opposed to the developers. I just think it's the whole, you either want to be a resort city, and if you do, that's fine, or you want to keep a small town feel. And I think if you go around and if it was able to put this to a county vote, I fully believe you would have more that do want the county feel more than the resort town that it could lead to, with everyone else wanting to have the same rules or zoning change for them to turn into a resort. So anyways, that's my thoughts, and thank you.
Let's see, where are we at here? Is that Sean Prescott?
So, ditto, but there's a few things I'd like to point out, you know, like Rollins Ranch. It was supposed to be this private gated community. The county wasn't supposed to take care of the roads. Who plows the roads now? There's others that are like that. You know, yes, you should have your right to do whatever you want with your property. But also, does that mean that somebody can go and, well, I want quarter-acre lots? You know, right over here, just off of Young Street and Morgan Valley Drive. Place there that wants it, well, we're setting a precedence. It's your property, you can do it if you want. Are we gonna allow somebody else to do it now too?
Thank you. Nadine Carter? Okay. So Melinda Phillips? Okay. Andrew Phillips?
I've done a lot of crazy things in my life, but this might be the most crazy. I want to address a couple of things. One being, I keep on hearing that this is not a resort town. It wasn't set up to be a resort town. But we're all forgetting that Como Springs was a pretty big deal. It was actually a resort, right? When was Como Springs put in?
Before I was born.
1860. Things you remember. I'd actually looked this up. It was 1860 that Como Springs came in. That's damn near the beginning of this place, right? And we're all worried about the people that are going to come. You guys know who Como Springs brought to Morgan? The Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Let's not look at the people who are going to come so negatively right off the bat. We don't know who it is. The other thing, we keep on worrying about this turning into Park City. We can't have it turn into Park City because we don't have nightlife, we don't have timeshares, we don't have public ski resorts. We got Snow Basin, and even that didn't even begin to phase us into turning into Park City. We don't have a film festival, right? We also don't have public land access. We have a unique opportunity here where we've got 96% privately held ground. That protects us from turning into a place like Park City because they actually need that public ground to turn into that, right? So the other thing I want to address is we owe it to the emergency services and the cops that are underpaid. Their pay doesn't match our neighboring counties. And so we've got high turnover. We actually don't even have paramedics up here because we can't afford to pay them. We've got an EMT service. On top of that, our emergency services are based off of volunteerism. Volunteerism across the country is dying. But as housing costs rise, as food costs rise, right? They can't afford to just provide service. They're working more than ever. We need to bring in some sort of tax base that supports people that are locals, that grew up here, that donate their time and work for less money an hour to be here. and to look out for us. And last but not least, I'm sure grateful that this county opened their arms to my family when we came. I basically was born here, but I wasn't born here. But my dad's buried here, my brother's buried here, my grandma's buried here. And the person that I am today is shaped by the people in this community on both sides of this debate that took an interest and cared about me. And I think we should do the same thing for others.
Thank you. Tina Kelly? Judy?
I did not sign up for that.
Well, I know, I'm just going, making sure everybody gets a chance. So you have Debbie? Okay.
Debbie Gibbs is here.
Michelle Lyman?
I'm the same, but I do have a few comments.
Well, you're the end of the list.
Okay, sounds great. I'm actually really excited to see jobs come to our county. I have 4 children that have gone through high school and middle school years of trying to find a job in Morgan County. They've helped the sheep herders, they've moved pipes, they've taught horse riding lessons. They've had to become pretty, find different ways to be able to stay here to get a job. So I'm super excited for our county to have those jobs available for our students that they're not having to drive too far from home. I do want to voice that I think it's really important for the county to make sure that the property owners are legally protected in how they can access their property. And as the process goes through, to make sure that those property owners have the right of way. I have amazing neighbors around me. Some are very low income, some are very high income. They're all amazing neighbors. I think they came to Morgan County for its values and its culture. I don't think if the fact that if they do have money or they do not have money makes them a good or bad person. And I don't think just because somebody has money, they're going to want to change the values and the culture here. They're coming here because they want the values and the culture of Morgan County.
Thank you. All right, with that, you want to open it up? That's all that's on the list. How many more people want to make a comment? Raise your hands.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right, 8. You're up. Don't all run at once.
Okay, I'll go first because I'm right close. And I'll just ask you from here. So the first question I got is how many, Aaron Dens, how many memberships will be sold? Not how many houses are there, okay? Because there's 2,000 memberships, that's a lot of traffic, correct? Number 2, our taxes will go up. You build a golf course by your home, it's private, your house is gonna go up, right? Number 3, resort. I think you turned down East Canyon for the same deal. You might want to think about reopening that one too. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Julie Frost, and I have a few concerns that affect our property on Peterson Creek. And one is when I was listening to the display about 82% snow making, or whatever that was, and 82% more, I don't know that big was, but we live on Peterson Creek, our creek is washed out several times, that we personally fill these giant holes in. I'm curious to know how the county addresses that. When you clear land up there on the mountain, it is like, say, these burn areas where you will have bare spots, and I'm not sure how they're developing that, but how will the county address the runoff? Will it increase how much flow is in our creek? And what will this snowmaking do to the people that live there? I believe several years ago, a county commissioner mentioned that bridge in Peterson is substandard. That may be something the county wants to look at if the water does run over it now on high water times. So that is road built just above our house a couple of years ago that was built, has affected us greatly. The county engineer, I haven't heard what's going on with that, but it created it was in a ravine, created some new flows onto our property. So I hope that the county doesn't just, I hope they oversee this. I haven't heard anybody mention clearing of the land, and when you clear brush, it creates heavy runoff, or can do. Another question that I have is, I didn't realize that this project was not supported by our general plan future map, and that was a surprise to me. Not too long ago, my husband and I went up to the county to ask about the zoning on some property that we own, and we were told, well, if you are in the general plan future map, then you probably are okay. If you're not in the general plan future zone, probably forget it, but I'm sure you can ask anyway. Another thing is, I would like the county council to, or whoever, how do you justify the 700 bonus lots? Because in talking to some people who own property up there in East Canyon, that project will be interested in this because it will set a precedent on how you are, I think, kind of ignoring the general plan future map. And other property owners will maybe want to do the same. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Gary Boland. I live in Peterson on Morgan Valley Drive. I've been here 44 years. I'm still considered an outsider. But I'm a retired businessman and a rancher. And as I evaluate the idea of what they want to do here, I'm all for it. I see a win-win situation not only for the county coffers, but also for the citizenship here. The alternative of what could happen here can boggle the mind. It could be overwhelmed. I realize that you control the growth and the zoning, but to have this kind of a presentation that will be basically hidden, basically maybe only a 12, 15, 20% occupancy. It's not going to impact our schools, but it's going to give us a lot of money for them. Growth is coming. We can't really control it, with the exception of this kind of a thing. This is a very unique opportunity. There are cities in this state that would love to have this opportunity to bring in such a clean, well-managed, and I'm supposing they have very deep pockets. They've already displayed their ability to pay a lot of money for some ground that I never thought was worth it, because I own ground in the same area. But obviously, it is recreational, and they have a great view of what the future can be. I realize that this may impact a lot of people negatively, but I think the way they presented it and the way it can play out, it'll be a benefit and a win-win situation for Morgan County. I encourage you to evaluate. Don't lose them. Thank you.
All right, next.
I don't have a prepared speech or anything like that. This is probably the first Morgan County Council meeting I've ever attended. But I'm here because, oh sorry, Sherry Rich. I'm here because I have grown up here. I have an 86-year-old father who's a native of Morgan, and I believe in the values of Morgan, and I want to keep it the way that, the reason why I'm here, the reason why my kids came back and built a home here is because we like the ruralness of the county. We do not want it to become a resort community. I'm not saying I don't like Park City. I like to go up there and do fun things and go out to eat, and then I like to come back to my little rural area in Morgan County and live, because I don't want that kind of lifestyle. And I really believe that that is the majority of how people feel in Morgan. And I don't know if it's even possible to take a vote on it, if it can be on an agenda in November, and I don't know because I'm not a political person. But anyway, another concern that we had is I know that there has to be entrances and exits to this place. Do we know where those roads are going to be? We are landowners in Line Creek, and we have been affected by this already, and I can see if it becomes a resort that we'll be affected even more so. And I'm just, for the record, I'm totally against Morgan becoming a resort community.
Thank you. Next.
Tucker Jensen, I live in Milton right now. Been there basically mostly my whole life. My concern, and I hope I'm not the one that's closing because obviously there's...
Supposedly there's 3 more.
Okay, good. Okay, so I can make my point. That doesn't really... So let me just explain to you 3 years ago about a future land use amendment that was applied for. So I applied for one. It made perfect sense in the council's eyes, but was told, unfortunately, because it's the future land use amendment, and we told somebody in Porterville, no, we have to tell you no. From what this is going to happen, and it is going to have a trickle-down effect, if I can use Trump's terms, there will be more development. And if that's the will of the people, so be it. There's going to be a lot more yeses than there are nos if this goes through. I wanted to take 20 acres and make 5 ranch rural lots with horses, and had a waiting list of a lot of people that live in this county already desiring to purchase these lots because of the culture, and was told no. So when you're making your decision, you aren't going to get any money out of me for doing this, but Morgan people that want to live here in Morgan were told no. Thanks.
Okay, you're going to have to speak a little louder because I can't hear you.
Hey, can you hear me good now?
Yeah, who are you again?
My name is Whitney Croft.
Okay.
And I have a few concerns, but I'll try to cut it short and sweet. So I spoke with a planner from Summit County, which is Park City area, who deals with a large scale of secondary homes, like hundreds and hundreds of secondary homes. And he stated to me, and I quote, that rooftops, primary or secondary, do not pay their way. And he said that your bread and butter is in commercial. Well, that really concerns me. If a Park City planner is saying that it doesn't ever end up being 90% secondary homes, and it actually doesn't ever pay its way, that's have a huge impact. The fact that you can't keep it 90% secondary homes, it could be anything. And I think how do you justify that to the people that have lived here that are on a set income, the elderly? For property tax to go up hundreds of dollars or however much, that really could devastate some people. I think you need to just take a little time and consider these things. Another thing is, I'm worried, like my mother Julie stated, about the water. I just moved to Peterson and all of our neighbors get flooded. I would hate to have to deal with that, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it's something that's definitely concerning to me. And I agree, property owners have rights to their property, and I think with his zoning, he has 22 some odd homes he can do, and I think that is just fine by me. So thank you.
Thank you. You still on up? Okay. Come back to Austin.
So I'm not really going to beat the dead horse on cabins because Austin Turner, sorry, you guys, most of you know me too well. I'm sorry for that too. I'm gonna get sidetracked right at the beginning and explain, I talked to a soil conservationist and Jeff, he said that the aquifer loading zones are right up at the top of the ridges where a lot of the cornice is built in that. So if Wasatch Peaks does snowmaking up there, that's where you'll get your aquifer loading zone. He says it's a small area right along the
Mr.
ridge.
Carter, could you address the council?
Sorry, I got distracted. I should know better decorum. Sorry. The only thing I want to say is, Sarah, now you know why when I called you up to tell you congratulations, you won. I was so happy. I was so happy. And I was so happy, and you were, anyway, still happy about that. Terrible night for you. I respect you guys, and I appreciate what you're doing. This is probably one of the hardest nights you guys will have to deal with. Dealing with both sides coming, they both want you to side with them. It's a rough go for you. There's only one other night that I felt like was worse than this. It's when you're in the middle of the budget session and everybody's come in with their budgets, what they need, and Morgan, the elected officials in Morgan are very well trained not to ask for a lot of golly gee whiz neat stuff because they know even the wants they have will be cut. And it's hard to go into a budget session where you're sitting at a $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 deficit, and you're going to the other elected officials and telling them, yeah, we know you need this, we know you need that, but no. And when we do raise taxes, if you ever do, the room will be packed again and people will be screaming and yelling at you because you raised taxes. The whole time I was on the county council, I was trying to get a different source of revenue. Those that have spent the time on the council with me, don't throw up when I say second homes and cabins because that's all I ever talked about. There is a huge benefit to them. I've worked in communities that have them and they pay very, very well to your public employees. They pay very well because of those second homes and the tax revenue that comes in. Call volume is minimal.
30 seconds.
Okay. Call volume is very minimal. Morgan County, at the end of the year, you get your stats. Look, every year, Morgan County, the law enforcement, we are the lowest per capita law enforcement agency in the state of Utah. The reason why is because we are mostly private property. There's not a lot of place for the public to come and be hooligans and do crazy stuff. Okay? So private property is a huge benefit. I saw him waving. I saw it, Jeremy. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, this was our last one.
Thanks. I'm Charles Begg. I live in Rollins Ranch. I look at Thurston Peak every day. It's quite an asset for our county. The reason I like it is it's one of a kind, and I call it a world-class opportunity. There's nothing like it in the county, so it'll be a very unique development. And where I live, we're developing the town center. That's the new village in our county. We don't have enough support for the commercial yet. We need more rooftops. So all of this will help. And these people will be using this new village as their gathering place. That's where the Morgan culture wants to be protected. Where I live was already planned. It's going to be together. It'll be walkable. So people can walk to that little village. They're not in their cars. They're walking. That's the kind of Morgan culture that I keep. That's what I want. This resort will be its own little enclave. It won't be a resort giant development. It's very quiet. When you look at those pictures, you can't even see it. It's going to protect our nature. It's just what we want. Rather than chaos, rather than unplanned growth, this is a master plan, high quality place. It'll be a great asset.
Thank you. Okay, then that, I need a motion to go to public hearing. Gilmore? Who's the second? Member Newton? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Member Newton, did you have something?
Is I don't know if we want to allow those to make any comments, answer any questions, or what's your comments?
Well, so the question has been brought, because we want to go through the development agreement. The question has been brought up because of the time. Do we want to start in the development agreement, answer questions, the developer answer questions? We want to postpone this to our next meeting and continue from this point on.
I'm going to make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we postpone this until our next meeting. I believe it's the 17th, is that correct?
Yes. So motion by member Newton to postpone to the 17th of September. Second by member McConnell. Any questions on the motion?
I think it needs to be an agenda item. I got a number of comments in as well. I'd like to get them to both the applicant and the other members of the council.
So do you want to start at the work session and kind of go through stuff, or do you just want to go through stuff? I'm just looking at being able to have a dialogue with the applicant as opposed to an agenda item. We really don't have the dialogue back and forth. I mean, we can ask questions and get answers. If we correlate it to a work session, we can actually have a dialogue, a conversation, and then also carry it over to the agenda. You okay with that?
Potentially a longer work session.
You okay with that?
Maybe we schedule a 2-hour work session instead of 1 hour.
Okay, so do you want to?
It should be a continuous, not a postponement.
Huh?
I believe it's a continuous, not a postponement. Okay, I'm going to revise my motion. We continue this until our next meeting on the 2nd.
All right, so you withdrew your first motion. Did you not?
I did.
Okay. You're going to motion to continue.
I'll second.
The 17th of September, work session, right?
Extended work session.
So how long do you want your work session? You want 2 hours? Okay. For a 2-hour work session?
Your timing, I'll just say, I'm concerned that it needs to be, it's already a public hearing, it's an open public hearing, this application is being discussed as a public hearing. I don't know that you can go into a work session on it.
Unless you do a normal meeting.
In other words, it's already as advertised as a public hearing. It's already in public.
The work session will be a public meeting. We've already opened and closed our public hearing.
So it's just a public meeting.
Yeah.
Check.
Because all work sessions are public.
Hearing.
Yes.
There's a motion on the table.
All right. So motion on the table is to continue on September 17th, do a 2-hour extended work session. Correct?
Correct.
And it will be an agenda item also.
Sure.
So I heard you mention that you wanted to have the dialogue with the questions that you had for the whole council. Are we wanting to submit our questions beforehand for the developer and the council to be able to review? Or is this just bring your questions that night and we'll discuss this group then?
I'd say well, questions you can get to the applicant beforehand would be great, but the dialogue will generate more questions as we talk about the development agreement. So you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Motion by member Newton, second by member McConnell. Any other questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed?
Mr. Chair, I move we adjourn.
Okay, motion by member Newton to adjourn. Second by member Kilmer, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?